A Beasley Media Group station live from the Comcast Business Studios. 97.5, The Fanatic. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas. This is Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5, The Fanatic, and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, well, that was a nice little win. I just would like to see some other guys hit the baseball. We'll get to that at some point. The Eagles, we are getting closer and closer. John and I were just talking about it. 15 days until opening kickoff for the Eagles. For a make-or-break season for who? We discussed that today on Kincade and Salciunas on a Wendy's Thursday morning. 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
I believe it would be a failure for the Philadelphia Eagles, the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles, if they do not win the NFC East. The Eagles have had a quiet training camp.
And to me, I look at it and say, it's wonderful to have peace and serenity out in South Philly.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Thursday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man John Kincade. Johnny, good Wendy's Thursday morning.
Oh, it's just good. It's good with a capital G. It's good to be able to exhale. It's good to be able to have a burrito.
Well, the burrito's the best part. The
It's awesome.
Look, the exhale, yes, exhale because of a win. Am I exhaling with Carlos Estevez giving me palpitations again? No. Am I exhaling because the Phillies had 5 hits yesterday, 2 of which came from Weston Wilson, 1 from Edmundo Sosa,
and the biggest
1 from Johan Rojas?
Yeah. Johan, baby.
That was nice. Not a nice night for Johan, but
another nice one.
All the other guys had 1 total hit. That was Kyle Schwarber. At least it was a ribby. Trey Turner knocks in a run, and Brandon Marsh with the sac fly. So it was big. Look,
a Marsh, an underrated moment.
Yes, because the sac fly
underrated moment.
Could have been a strikeout.
If it had been a strikeout, which it normally is,
right.
That's really good. That's a really good moment for him. Hopefully it triggers
Phil's get the win. Phil's get the win. And that was nice coming
30.
off of the loss. What, the magic number down to 30? All right, like that.
Nice round number today. We can get down into the 20s with a win tonight.
So we'll talk about the Phillies all day today, as we normally do, especially during a big series against the Atlanta Braves. But we're going to start off with the Eagles because we're getting closer and closer. And, John, as we get closer, it seems like there's more negative vibes surrounding the Eagles, not from the Eagles, and not from most Eagles fans. We are getting pushback still from a lot of Eagles fans, but we've been going through the national media now. Will Brinson, last week, says the Eagles are going 9-8. You guys had him on Monday,
sure.
And I thought it was great. We went to the Bill Barnwell article yesterday as the Eagles, in his mind, are one of 5 teams, just 5 teams, that will take a step back this year. And I remember one of them were the Ravens. Okay, so maybe the Ravens don't finish with the best record in the AFC, but they're probably still a playoff team and could very well win their division, right?
They could.
If the Eagles were to take a step back, that means they win less than 11 games. That means they are worse than a season that had a historic collapse. That means the questions of the head coach are fact and he is fired. That means the questions of Jalen Hurts are more so fact, and you have to start thinking about decisions down the road. If the Eagles have a step-back season this year, considering what happened last year, that would be catastrophic to the Eagles and the fan base. I know we had Shefty on yesterday, and he said, it'll lead to great content. You know what? Them winning's great content, too. I don't need doom and gloom.
Yeah, I don't want doom and gloom. And more importantly, I want this team early on. And I just couldn't stop thinking about it yesterday. I want this team early on to just squash the memory of how last year ended.
Absolutely.
Now, I realize we're going to have a segment of the fan base who is going to do what you hate with the Embiid stuff. They're going to say, well, I just got to wait till December. They were 10-1 last year.
Right.
I know what even though this year will not resemble last year in any way, shape, or form because of the people that are calling the shots.
Right.
I need a cleansing. I need a colonoscopy, if you will, which everybody should be getting, by the way. I think I need one of them for this fan base as far as the Eagles right now. I believe overwhelmingly, though, there's a positivity about the Eagles that people know that 1-7 thing is going to be flushed from our memory quickly.
Yeah, I think there's a calm before the storm right now. Like, I think people are ready to go, and 15 days, I can't believe we're just 15 days away. Literally tomorrow marks 2 weeks to opening kickoff for the Philadelphia Eagles. Today marks 2 weeks to the kickoff of the NFL when the Ravens and Chiefs take on one another on that Thursday night. So football is right around the corner. So we want to have a conversation about make or break. Because let's face it, this is a make or break season for the Philadelphia Eagles because you all of a sudden are back to Super Bowl expectations or NFC Championship expectations or winning the NFC East. Depending on where your expectations are, a lot of us, I would say the majority of us, and I would say the vast majority, I would think probably 80% of Eagles fans have the Eagles finishing with at least 10 wins in their W's and L's, right? I don't think there are many Eagles fans, unless they are contrarian or they are Negadelphian or they just have some firm belief that Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni will continue to have bad juju together and it's all going to blow up in their face. But I think 80% of Eagles fans have the Eagles winning at least 10 wins. That tells us that this is a make or break season because we have such high expectations because of what happened last year. And there are make or break seasons for individuals. Nick Sirianni, if this does not go well this year, he is fired.
He is. I don't think there's a question.
No, it's done.
It's really crazy, though, that you're saying it with such, like someone emphatically. We all know it's going to happen.
If they finish below expectation,
it's going to happen.
He's done. The head coach is fired.
I think 10 wins could even get him fired.
If they don't do anything in the playoffs, that could get him fired. There's too much talent on this team to go 10-7 and lose in the first round of the playoffs. The Vic Fangio coaching tree. Look, it's young. It's a young defense. Is this year make or break for the Vic Fangio coaching tree? Probably not. But I will say this, John. If Nick Sirianni is fired, how many head coaches keep the same coordinators? They normally don't. If a new head coach comes in, he's probably bringing new coordinators unless Vic Fangio or Kellen Moore are promoted to head coach of the Eagles. But if the season is a failure, which is 10 wins, not winning the division, why would you keep the coordinator?
Well, if this team is outstanding offensively and the defense just doesn't get it done and they don't do anything in the playoffs, I could easily see, and I mean easily, a thing where you get an ascension to head coach for Kellen Moore. I do wonder why Kellen Moore is not a head coach by this time, though.
Right.
It's a little odd to me. He's interviewed quite a few times, and he's not gotten a head coaching job, including he was beaten out for a head coaching interview by Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, that's true.
Sort of gives me the heebie-jeebie vibes a little bit.
Yeah. But
as far as wondering, what doesn't he do well?
And this is just coaching. I mean, players, Jalen Hurts, we know, right? Jordan Davis is a guy that we've talked about a lot who is great for the first half of the season, a little bit more than half of the season, and then starts to fall off because of his conditioning.
And he better put it together.
Like, I know next year, I know he's still under contract. They're not going to release him if he doesn't do that this season, but going into your rookie deal, your final year, a lot of times you're already thinking about re-upping your contract. You don't normally go into the final year of your deal as a rookie if you're a first-round pick and you're performing well. I haven't even heard the slightest bit of contract talk with Jordan Davis.
Remember, though, he's going into year three, so he's going to have 5. He has 5.
Oh, yeah, because of the club option.
Because of the club option. So there won't really see that stress. It'll be more like a Devontae Smith thing, where next year, maybe off-season.
Right.
But he's got to – your point is there. He's got to perform.
Yeah, at some point you got to go, all right, enough with the, he's still young. He's still trying to get in the NFL. No, enough of that.
No, enough of that. You're 3 years in the NFL. This year has to be a coming out party for Jordan Davis.
Right.
And honestly, it's going to be after the turkey's carved. And I'm wondering if tryptophan kicks in.
It might.
Has kicked in.
He might eat a lot of it.
Might pop,
That's a big man
but
there.
I can just tell you, watching the highlights from training camp, he's a different man, though. He looks, his body.
Said the exact same thing last year.
No, you didn't. His body.
I did?
His body did not look anything like this.
Yeah, it looked, all right, sorry. It looked better last year than it did the year before that.
His body didn't look anything like this. This year to last year, no. He is a completely different specimen. Whether that accounts for playing better football, who knows? He may not play better football at a lower weight.
Right. He might not.
I mean, we don't know. We do not know. That's why it's a prove-it year for him.
So I would love to hear from you at 610-632-0975. You can call in, you could text in. First off, let's just throw this out there because I'm sure there are some people, John, and I can't believe it would be a high percentage. But I'm sure there are some people that are saying that this isn't a make or break year for the Eagles or for individuals. And if that's the case, I think you're crazy. But
for the team or for individuals?
Dude, I would say for the team, too. This team is too talented. This team has so much going on for them.
Let me ask you. I would tell you right now, if Nick Sirianni failed, this would be the number one job that would hit the market that anybody would want, and that includes the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
So I don't think it's make or break for the roster. I think it's make or break for individuals, for coaches and individual players. This isn't make or break for the stars of this team.
Man, I
mean, for A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley.
I get it.
Jalen Hurts is not make or break. If he has another year, there's going to be serious questions.
Yeah, there's going to be questions.
But it's not going to be move on time. I mean, I think it's make or break for the head coach and for individuals that we need to, kick some backside this year.
You don't think it's make or break for Jalen Hurts?
No.
I don't think make or break in terms of he's gone like Carson Wentz after this season.
Well, that's what I look at as make or break.
But, the conversations of top 10 quarterback, top whatever quarterback, if he has another season like last year.
Well, if he drops out of if he has he'd have to have a terrible year to not be their quarterback next year.
Right, to not be the quarterback. But we'll start talking.
See, I don't consider.
Would you be surprised if, let's say, he has a year like last year, maybe even a little bit worse, or it's slightly better, but not anything where you're going, oh, yeah, this is the guy that we paid for that incredible year 2 years ago. You don't think the Eagles would start looking at like a draft pick?
Do I think he's going to
sit for a little bit?
No, what I'm just saying is I don't think he's going to be gone.
Right.
And I look at make or break as you're here or you're not.
Okay.
You're being voted off the island. Someone's taking what do they do? The torches?
Right.
Someone's taking your torch. I haven't watched Survivor in a long time. It was good in the time. And someone's putting your torch out. And I don't consider that. But for this fan base's backing of Jalen Hurts, I could easily see many people putting his torch out.
Dude, I think that's important. Look, I'll say this. Not that Jeffrey Lurie would fire him. If some of these draft picks don't play well, you don't think Howie Roseman's going to lose the backing of the fan base? Howie Roseman at one point was fired by Eagles fans, right? By me. I wanted to move on from him. I can't do that anymore because I'm not going to go back and forth the song and dance of do I want Howie Roseman, do I not want Howie Roseman. I think Howie Roseman is an exceptional general manager, and I would not want to fire him even if this season doesn't necessarily go as expected. But, John, you know how it is in this fan base, how quick we are to turn on somebody. How quick we are to love on you?
Yes.
And how quick we are to want you out of town. If this season does not go well, oh, I thought Howie built this great team. Oh, I thought Howie did a great job drafting the Georgia players. Oh, Howie thought he was the smartest man drafting a corner out of Toledo and not a corner out of Alabama. Like, you can hear these things already being said.
It's almost as if you have just tapped into the psyche of many of the people that will call in or text in. I will give you this. I think this is a make or break year for the Georgia experiment. Let's say this. Let's say Jalen Carter has another good year.
I think he'll be fine.
Well, no, I do too. But I'm just giving you philosophical, hypothetical.
I got you.
Okay. Jordan Davis doesn't take a big step forward. He's the same guy he's been the first 2 years. He's a really good player at his position, but not looking like he's really worthy of that first-round pick where he was taken.
And the guy after him is an all-pro.
Which drives me crazy. Jalen Carter doesn't take a huge step forward. He's pretty much the same guy. You see flashes of what he can be, but he's
not Aaron Donald yet.
You don't see anything out of Nolan Smith this year. Nakobe Dean ends up not being a player that you can play significant times. I think it's a make or break year on the experiment, and that reflects on Howie.
Yeah.
And that's going to be on him. There are things like that I think are make or break.
Okay.
And the thing is, you make a great point that I never thought of. I'm giving you your kudos. I tip the cap to you, but no hat.
Big day.
I would say to you that what you said, though, rings true about Hurts, rings true for other things. If this fan base falls out on you, there's an inherent pressure on that.
Yes.
If the talking point becomes, well, Howie, your Georgia experiment, it sucked. You overvalued all these guys. This was dumb. You didn't do things. If it becomes an overwhelming talking point and noisy around the franchise, I got to tell you, you're right about that. Like things like that, I think is make or break.
Right.
because it could break the positivity that has surrounded this fan base for quite a while.
And there's been a lot of positivity going into this season. The only really negative talking point has been the Hurts and Sirianni beef that they had that seems to be squashed. And honestly, John, a lot of the negative talk about it was people complaining that we were talking about it.
Oh, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because ultimately people want to be positive about this team.
And people who told us that it didn't exist.
Right, exactly.
People who told us that it's the Philly media again, making something up, trying to stir up stuff where it doesn't, when in fact it existed and it was a big problem.
Right, it was. And it seems to be fixed, and that's great.
It does,
but
and we're looking forward to that.
If they start losing or if guys aren't playing to their level of expectations or the standard is the standard, whatever Jalen Hurts quote you want to use,
blah, blah, blah.
The noise will get louder because this is a season that's quietly becoming a Super Bowl or bust discussion because of the amount of talent that's been put together offensively, because of what we've said about Kellen Moore, because of what we've said about Vic Fangio, because of the schedule that is not as difficult as last season, because how the NFC is starting to open up a little bit, and the Eagles should be one of the better teams in the NFC. They're still 1A, 1B with San Francisco, more so the 1B because San Francisco has a little bit more pedigree, but they're there, man. This is becoming quietly a Super Bowl or bust conversation season. And if things don't go well, man, the noise is going to be loud.
Okay, can I tell you, I saved this for you.
Okay.
To add to, because a couple times today, I'm going to give you something that's going to be a jolt of positivity.
Okay, good. I like that.
Okay. 2022, the year the Eagles went 14-3 and went to the Super Bowl and lost in the last 2 minutes. Do you remember what people were saying about the Eagles before the year? Because I have them all.
Going into the 2022 season. Well,
off of the 9-8 rookie year of Jalen Hurts.
Questions of Jalen Hurts was the biggest one.
Going into 2022, though, record-wise. No, for the Eagles. What the predictions were.
Sporting
News, 10-7.
Yeah, I was going to say around
Sports
there.
Illustrated, 11-6. ESPN, 10-7. NFL Network, 11-6.
Wow, that's actually higher than I thought.
Well, it was one game better for ESPN and Sporting News. From 9-8 to
but you know how I felt about the 9-8.
Yeah, I know.
I thought it was,
but they liked
kind
it
of
there.
false because of COVID and
they
injuries.
had them as wild cards. Sports Illustrated and NFL Network had them at 11-6. One of them a wild card, one of them a division champion. They were +3 or +4 on all of those. We know so much more about this team than we knew about that team.
Absolutely,
so much more.
You're right.
So to me, I would just say to people, remember. Like with a top draft pick, leading up to the draft, this guy's the greatest. He's awesome. And then around 2 or 3 weeks out, they got to come up with a counter material to say, what if we're wrong? Let's start hedging. Well, what would be the opposing story? I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to give you a lot of reason to smile.
So is this a make or break season for the Eagles? You could text in, you can call in 610-632-0975. What individuals on the Eagles is this a make or break season for? And also, what is make or break? That's something that we haven't really talked about yet. And we'll discuss that more coming up in a little bit. But make or break for me might be different for John, might be different for Connor, might be different for anybody that's listening to the show right now, because we all have different levels of expectations. We all have different levels of belief. Like I've said, we've had pushback from some Eagles fans that we are overly positive about the Eagles, which is funny because normally people perceive the media as the negative, side of things, and the fans are more positive. And it seems like from some of you, it's different. So what is make or break for you when it comes to the Eagles? We'd love to hear from you all day today at 610-632-0975. A little bit more on the Phillies. Nice win yesterday. They beat the Braves 3-2. And
the also-rans, the guys who were not counted on, carried the water last night.
And look, Weston Wilson again. This guy keeps on getting opportunities and keeps on playing well. And I know that's probably not going to change anything.
He might have a tank of gas that you can squeeze another 2 weeks out of him.
Right, and
he might.
You run it until it's empty.
Right, he might be a quad A. He has all the marks of a quad A player. But while he's hitting, it's good to use him.
Oh, it absolutely is. And Aaron Nola yesterday goes out there. He's okay.
He's okay.
8 hits is too many hits.
And then they come back and tie the game, and it's got to be Nola. The Nola. Let me come to the mound and let me bring my gas can. When you just ask for a damn shutdown inning, he can't do it. He just can't. And they got to deal with it again.
Well, the Phillies were trailing 2-0. They came back and tied.
No, but they tied, and then Nola went out to the mound when it was 2-2.
and didn't give up.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
anything.
he set the table where you had to bring in a
and then,
relief
he
pitcher.
brought in Jeff
He went in
Hoffman.
and got
Yeah,
two men
okay.
on base.
I got you. Right.
He let the
Yeah.
Braves get 2 men instead of just saying, "Hey, here's where I take the ball. My team's struggling. I got to get out of this."
Right, I
He's
got you.
nibbling again.
Yeah.
And it was premier nibbler mode last night.
Yeah,
for
but he
Nola.
only allowed 2 runs. I
Yeah,
can't.
it's-
This can't be the morning that I come in.
He
That's
wasn't.
good.
He wasn't great.
You don't
I'm not
have
gonna-
to, Connor.
I'm not going to sit here
I'm
and
not
say
requiring you to.
stellar outing
Okay.
out of Aaron Nola.
You don't have
I'm
to
not
do
saying
that.
stellar, but if the
He
guy
was
goes
good,
out and
but he was
gives
nibbling,
up 2 runs,
but
that's
he
a good
was
start.
nibbling like hell. And he was also when you that's one thing. All you need, shut down inning.
Right.
You need to shut down at that point. That team needed it desperately.
Well, you just heard the voice of Connor Thomas. Connor
I'm
was
back.
out yesterday with
He's
some
alive.
sniffles. He is.
No!
He's powering through. Oh, I'm sorry. No, he worked too hard the 2 days I was out.
That wasn't it either.
Connor's back. We're happy to have Connor back. But Brendan Gunn was in for Connor yesterday, and he said something that I thought was crazy, and that was guaranteeing an NLCS appearance for the Phillies. I don't know how anyone could guarantee an NLCS appearance at this stage. However, I have a question about what the Phillies deserve from us.
Really?
And I don't just mean you and I on the radio. I mean also the fans. We're going to try to find common ground, which is never easy. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phils win a tight one.
On Kincade and Salciunas on this Wendy's Thursday morning. Don't forget, every hour, as long as I remember, we give away a $50 Wendy's gift card.
Oh, you're going to remember.
I don't ever.
No, you're going to remember.
The 6 o'clock hour is the hardest one for me. I always forget.
That's because you haven't had the Wendy's yet.
That's right, because the Wendy's is on my brain when I eat it.
Correct.
And I want to give somebody the joy of eating a breakfast burrito. So you know what? While we're on the topic, how about caller number 3 to the contest line?
There it is.
215-263-0975. 215-263-0975. Caller number 3 to the contest line will win a $50 Wendy's gift card, our first of 4. Wendy's new Saucy Nugs are taking nugs to a whole new level. Choose from 7 different flavors for a whole new way to nug. It's got to be Wendy's, open till midnight or later at participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location. Caller number 3, 215-263-0975. All right, so I texted you this last night, John.
Yeah, we were creative last night.
And it's something that's kind of stemmed off of our conversation with Brendan Gunn, where we ganged up on him and put him in a corner and beat the crap out of him.
A little bit.
And, you know, it felt good to be the bully for once because you guys bullied me about my love for the Little League World Series. So it was nice to be the bully for once, right?
Correct.
So B. Gunn yesterday, who was sitting in for Connor. Connor, I want to get your reaction to this first before I bring up the topic. Brendan guaranteed the Phillies to get back to the NLCS, to return to the NLCS. He guaranteed it. And John and I were like, dude, we feel like they still can. We don't think it's done, but it's crazy to guarantee that when the Phillies have been as bad as they've been over 2 months now.
I mean, that's nuts. You're not willing to guarantee the World Series at this point?
Coming from Connor, then it tells me it's nuts.
It's playoff baseball. Have we not learned over the past couple of seasons how variable it can be compared to the regular season? That's the thing. As much as I think this team is talented, I know how quickly your season can be over once October rolls around. I can't guarantee anything based on regular season after what you've seen from top seeds and great teams in the postseason the past couple of years.
And this field is not going to look anything like the other years. Right now, everybody is bunched. Now, the Phillies are 2 games up on the second wild card
It's
team.
amazing, isn't it?
I mean, it is everybody's thinking boy, Phillies have had this great year. The Diamondbacks and the Padres are 2 games back of them.
Well, that's why yesterday I brought it up. We did more likely to happen scenarios yesterday, Connor, because Bill Barnwell wrote an article that the Eagles were going to take a step back. So I asked the question, what's more likely? The Eagles take a step forward, they do a step back. And then we did a bunch of Eagles topics off of that. Will Jalen Hurts take a step forward? Will he take a step back? Will Saquon Barkley's contract be worth it, or will we have the initial fears come back to life? But toward the end of the show, I brought up a Phillies one. And I said, what's more likely to happen? They win the division, and they're a top 3 seed, or they're the 6th seed. Because if they were to lose the division, it would be a collapse. I mean, they have a 7-game lead now against the Braves after winning last night. But let's say the Braves swept the Phillies in this series. All of a sudden, it's 4 games. Then all of a sudden, you play again each other in a couple weeks.
Next week,
it could be even closer after that, depending on how they played against the Braves. And if they were to have that collapse, that means those other teams behind them, those 2 wild card teams that you mentioned, they'd keep on winning.
Yeah.
You would then fall to the 6th seed, which would be catastrophic.
See, I got you, but you know what's more likely there. It's significantly more likely they win the division.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So.
Yeah, but to advance to the NLCS?
Well, that's a different conversation.
You got to win. Right now, you are 1 game up of playing in the wild card series.
Right.
And so when you go to the Brewers in September, you got to win one of the 3 to win the season series there. So if you tie the Brewers, it actually puts you up 2 games. So you get that extra game. But you're 1 game up on being a wild card series team. To guarantee, they'd win a wild card series and then win an NLDS? I don't know.
Well,
that's way too bold.
I'll be able to tell you next Friday if the Phillies are playing in the wild card series or not.
Well, they're not going to. Why do you say that?
We'll know that because by then we're going to have seen them play the Astros, the Royals, and we're also going to have a start of a look at that series with the Atlanta Braves, which is going to be a situation where once those series are over, like once they finish the next series against the Braves, their schedule is a cakewalk.
I got to tell you, you have 7 with the Mets who are going to be fighting for a playoff spot.
Not that good of a team.
The Mets play the Phillies really, really well.
Okay.
Year after year after year when the Phillies are reportedly better.
If both of
They
these
play
teams
better.
At least it won't be in London this time.
The Phillies have 3 at the Brewers.
Okay, yeah, right, I got you.
And so so not playing in the wild card round means you're going to know in the next 2 weeks whether they're going to be ahead of the Dodgers and the Brewers?
Absolutely.
I don't know how. I think that's almost as crazy as
No. The crazier one is guaranteeing an NLCS right now. I don't
know how you're going to guarantee
I hear what
it.
Connor's saying because you'll be able to tell also how the team is playing. You know, are they actually out of it after winning those 4 games, 1 against the Marlins, 3 against the Nationals? Yes, you lost game 1 against the Braves, but you came back and won game 2. I get what you're saying.
Right, like if they run through this and they're in good standing after playing the Braves twice, well, the Braves once, the Astros, the Royals, this team's going to be officially out of it, and they're going to have a significantly easier stretch of games to round out the season. And it's not like, oh, well, the Mets are playing for the postseason. The Phillies are not just chilling. Like, I know sometimes it may seem like that, but they're not going to play in a situation where they're fighting for the top seed in the National League and be like, well, we don't need this game as much as the Mets do.
No, right, exactly.
Even though Phillies players seem to be saying they need to find the urgency. Many players in the locker room saying things that are alluding to, it's time for us to wake up.
Well, they
Time
got
for
the
us
win
to
yesterday
play.
thanks to the bottom half of the order.
Guess what? Those guys who won that game for you last night, that's not going to be why you win in October.
No, absolutely not. You're right.
They may help you win a game or here, but you ain't going nowhere. If the top of your lineup in what they told us is a big series, Schwarber with 1 hit, Turner with no hits, Harper with no hits. They're
1 for 24 so far in this series.
This is a problem that's got to correct itself quickly.
So the question I want to ask you guys, and this is our secondary topic, our Eagles conversation, and we'll get to text messages coming up in a little bit, our Eagles discussion. Who is this a make or break season for on the Eagles? Is this a make or break season for the team as a whole? And what is make or break for you? We all kind of have different levels to it, and we'll expand on that more in the 7 o'clock hour. But we want your reaction. We'll get to it coming up at 610-632-0975. But our secondary question, our question about the Phillies, and I'll explain it a little bit because Connor was wondering what I meant when I put this on the show sheet.
Well, Connor's got a little brain fog this morning.
Oh, he's sick. So my question is, what do the Phillies deserve from us, from the fans? And this is what I mean by it. For people that say this Phillies team stinks and there's no chance that they're going to win, I think that's crazy, and they deserve more from us. Because this team was in an NLCS last season. This team, with the addition of Trey Turner, subtraction of Trey Turner, was in the World Series 2 years ago.
Correct.
This team, the team that we're watching in front of us.
Pretty much the same group.
There's not much different.
No.
If anything, they got better because Trey Turner is better than what they had 2 years ago with Gene Segura and Bryson Stott.
Hey, be nice to Jimmy Six.
I love Jimmy.
Guy.
No, I love Gene Segura. I'm just saying
Sure,
this team is better with Trey Turner. This team got to an NLCS last year and a World Series 2 years ago. To say that they have no shot of winning something
is absurd.
Is absurd. I think that they deserve more from us when it comes to that. To say that this lineup is broken, I think is absurd because once again, this lineup got you to a World Series and an NLCS. There's something that you and I know Connor's been on my side, we don't necessarily love the approach. You hate the approach.
I hate the approach. This
approach has gotten you to a World Series and an NLCS in back-to-back years.
Okay.
Do the Phillies deserve more from us when it comes to our talking of how they approach hitting?
No.
Why?
Not at all.
It's worked.
Because you can say it's worked. I want to see more. I don't want to see them. I want to see a team that doesn't get themselves out.
Now, John,
how about that?
Part of this is how much more can you rightfully ask for?
Okay, here I'm going to rightfully ask for. Swings and misses first 2 games of this series. They have swung and missed at 82% balls outside the strike zone.
Okay.
That is exactly what every team that pitches to them in the postseason, the Astros beat them with, Diamondbacks beat them with, and the Braves are literally saying they'll swing at garbage, and I know that we don't have to throw them strikes. So I want to see a team that doesn't beat themselves. Now, that's going to happen. You're going to swing at balls outside the strike zone. The average team is going to swing at like 40-something% every night, but not 80. Not 80-something.
Yeah, but that's a 2-game sample size. Like, how do they win so much?
Because they are playing in a division where you should win.
They don't just play the NL East.
I got you.
And they have a plus 500 record over the Dodgers. They swept the Brewers.
There are 3 teams in the NL West that pretty much have the exact same record. One a little better, one a little worse than the Phillies.
And haven't you cooked 2 of those 3 teams?
And they all play each other. So what does that mean? Then that means you play down to bad competition then. So it's got to, because the wins are coming somewhere. If you're playing they play a distinctly easier schedule than NL West teams. Distinctly. They don't have to play the Padres and the Diamondbacks. They have an easier schedule to play. I don't want to see a team that beats itself. In the last 2 years in the postseason, I will tell you, their approach at the plate beat themselves.
But their approach got them to those positions.
If it's good enough, if it's good enough for you guys to be there, that's fine. If it's just good enough to be there, you're right.
Being there's half the battle.
Okay.
Dude.
Yeah, but you got to win when you go.
That's not the difference between winning and losing.
All right, we'll continue this discussion. And so I want people to answer this question. What do the Phillies deserve from us? Because I think we question a lot of a team that's had more success than way more teams in Major League Baseball over the last 2 years. We'll get to the Eagles' reaction as well. 610-632-0975. It is Kincade and Salciunas right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson.
It doesn't seem to matter who the Phillies play. The problem isn't the opponent anymore.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this Wendy's Thursday morning. Got a lot in store for you today. Andrew DeCecco will be joining us coming up at 8:10 as he does every single Thursday. And coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, don't you worry, we haven't talked about him yet. We will react to the moment in last night's Phillies game that involved Bryce Harper and Orlando Arcia. We'll talk about that coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. But I want to check out the text line hour. 2 topics today. Is this a make or break season for the Eagles? And if you don't think it's a make or break season for the team as a whole, there's clearly individuals that this is a make or break season for. And what is make or break? We'll also expand on that in the 7 o'clock hour because I think make or break for Jalen Hurts might be different than what you and I think.
Oh, no question.
Right? I mean, you and I
We're all
already
gonna
have different opinions on how he will play this season.
Right.
So I think we'll also have different opinions on what make or break is for Jalen Hurts. Mine might actually be less than yours because you are going, to the moon with 4,500 yards and 30 touchdown passes.
But we also, because of our different definitions of make or break, we might have different standards about what we think is going to cause alarm.
That's true.
When I think of make or break, I think of, okay, the alarm bells are ringing.
Right.
There's a fire in the building.
Right.
Somebody's in trouble. It's going to take a lot for Jalen. But other people, not so much.
And then when it comes to the Phillies, what do they deserve from us? Because we question a lot, rightfully so at times. Look, I'm not disagreeing with some of the things that we question, like base running issues.
You've watched the last 9 weeks.
And throwing baseballs to the wrong bases. Like, you're not wrong. But there are things that we question of a team that has been in the World Series and then the NLCS in 2 straight years and have one of the better records in Major League Baseball.
Because expectations are different.
Yes.
Because this team has a top 4 payroll, shouldn't have been as underachieving team in the regular season as they were the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we expect an achievement from them. So, look, with winning comes expectation.
Absolutely.
And they got to own it.
Yeah, but they're reaching the expectations
Not
we
of
put
their
on
owner.
them. What's up?
Not of their owner. They're
Well,
absolutely not.
I mean,
Yeah,
He
because
is
of
on the
the
record.
last 2 months.
Let's talk about the people in the room. Like, our expectations going into the season were if they win the NL East, that is a step that they needed to take, that we wanted them to, and you predicted them to. And right now, if you ask anybody outside the city of Philadelphia who's winning the NL East, and we have asked people outside the city of Philadelphia. We had Jeff Francoeur on earlier this week. He said, the Phillies are winning the East. Like, everyone around baseball thinks this division is dead and gone.
Oh, no question it's dead and gone. And I didn't think, but when I thought the Phillies were going to win the division with 96 wins, which very well might end up being like the number, I didn't expect no Acuna, no Strider, 3 months without Ozzie Albies.
You also didn't expect a
any of
2-month
that.
stretch of the Phillies to be horrible.
No, the thing is, though, the Phillies is self-made.
Right.
The Braves have been gutted by your top competition. The only team that could beat this team over 162 has been gutted of their 3 best players.
Right.
I mean, that's a completely different, to me, scenario of how I thought the season would go.
Yeah, but you're getting too caught up in how you expected it. If they hit the number you predicted and they do what you asked them to, how can we look at this as they
Because I
haven't
can look at circumstance differently and
Right.
say
The
it was different.
context.
It's a different context.
The Eagles, they made the playoffs 3 straight years under Nick Sirianni.
and you discount the first one.
But that wasn't
Yes.
the goal, guys. Last year, the Eagles, it was win the NFC East, and they did not accomplish that because of the collapse. If the Phillies don't win the NL East, we're having a totally different conversation, but they're going to accomplish everything we asked them to in the regular season.
They didn't have Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and another player out of the Cowboys
I
to
got
help
you,
them
but-
win the division. The Eagles would have won the division last year if Dallas did not have CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, and maybe
Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons.
Right, but we would not have been able, we could not have sat here if we had predicted the Eagles win 12 games and win the NFC East, and that would be a good regular season, and they did that exactly. We could not say, well, Dallas did this. They did exactly what we asked them to, and we're going to be upset with them. I will not do that with the Phillies.
I can look at something before the season, say what I think is going to happen, and then look at the reality of the situation and say, well, in retrospect, we can look at what actually happened and say, yes, if Dallas loses their 3 best players, you sure as hell better win the
Right,
NFC.
exactly. And that's why
Come on.
the second Strider went down. You remember?
Right.
I changed my
You did.
I
You
changed
changed
my
it.
opinion. I
You
said,
thought
the
that
Phillies
was-
are winning this division. They better win the division if Spencer Strider's out for the year.
You changed it very first thing. You said that's it. You said that swung it for you. A circumstance that happens during the season makes all preseason predictions like null and void. I'm not going to beat my chest over them winning the NL East this year and getting it right when the Braves were gutted.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
I'm just going to say,
absolutely will.
I'm going to say, hey, let's make
Look,
it.
we could celebrate
If you don't want to
it,
celebrate a division title that they haven't done in
No.
how long,
No.
that's on you. But I'm going to
That's
be
not-
dancing in the streets if they win the NL East.
That's not what I said.
Yeah, it's not what John said.
I know. I'm just saying.
React to what I said.
I'm saying what I'm gonna
I
do.
said that I'm not going to bite my chest about predicting them to win the NL East when the Braves were actually gutted. Anything less than this team going to the World Series is a huge letdown.
And that was the
Huge
expectations
letdown.
from the beginning of the season. All right,
Correct.
what do we got on the text line? Give us a text before we start talking about Orlando Arcia and
boy.
also what our definition of make or break will be.
Speaking of how you get there, Colby from Central PA checks in and is talking about the Eagles and the make or break year for the team. And he says, I don't see anything necessarily wrong with an 11-6 season, just not how it happened last year. I want to win the NFC East first and foremost, which I think is important. Win the East, take a breath, gear up for the postseason. That's good enough for me.
That's not good enough for me. It's not. That's not.
Well, 11-6, we have
no,
said
no.
11 wins is the floor.
Yeah, it's my floor. It's just not. It's not going to get me excited.
That's not a sexy text, but
No,
like,
I get his thought process.
I do too, yeah.
Completely get his thought process.
Thanks for the
Gear up.
text, Colby. We appreciate it. All right, in the 7 o'clock hour, here's what we'll do. We will explain what our make or break levels are for certain individuals because we might see things differently when it comes to Jalen Hurts, when it comes to coaches and coordinators and the team. Also, Orlando Arcia. My God, this dude
He'll never
and
learn.
his weak ass moment in the Phillies game yesterday. We will react to it next on Kincade Salciunas 97.5 The Fanatic. 7:01 on Kincade and Salciunas on this Wendy's Thursday morning. Another $50 Wendy's gift card going out the door at some point this hour. We have one an hour. We gave one away in the 6 o'clock hour. We have 3 more to go on this beautiful Wendy's Thursday morning. Coming up around 7:10 is when we will discuss the moment that happened last night between Bryce Harper and Orlando Arcia. Should I even say between? I think it was just a one-sided moment.
It was one-sided.
Weak-ass moment. We'll get to that coming up around 7:10. But I want to get to some more text messages on today's topics. You can text the show at 610-632-0975. And our topics today. Is this a make-or-break season for the Philadelphia Eagles? And if not the Eagles as a team, who individually is this a make-or-break season for? And then what is make-or-break? So let's focus on that for a second here, John. Because I think we're all going to have different definitions.
Easy
Jeez.
for you to say.
And Connor, I want you to be a part of this as well. So let's start with Jalen Hurts, right? That's always the quarterback. It's always the first thing to focus on. It's always the most important conversation when it comes to a football team. Jalen Hurts. What is make or break for Jalen Hurts? If you believe that this is a make or break season, again, our definitions are all different. Does that mean he's still the quarterback next year? Or is it more so the pressure coming from the fan base next season? Because I still don't sense that much pressure on him this year.
I don't either. I think he is treated as softly as any quarterback I think I've ever seen in the Philadelphia Eagles.
And you've heard me since this show started. I'm going to be extra tough on him this year. Not because I don't believe in him. I'm not trying to be Brian Flores, mean coach to Tua Tagovailoa.
Terrible person.
No, this guy has so much talent around him. He has a top 5 wide receiver, a arguably top 10 wide receiver in Devontae Smith, a top 10 running back in Saquon Barkley, and at one point in his career, a top 3 running back. He has an incredible offensive line still, and he has probably the most sought-after offensive coordinator that was available, because obviously Ben Johnson wasn't. One of the more available offensive coordinators in Kellen Moore that has had success and is talked of glowingly. He has all these things at his disposal. I'm going to be tougher on him this year.
As you should.
But I think our definitions of make or break are still going to be a little bit different in terms of what we want. So tell the audience again what you are expecting out of Jalen Hurts this season. And I want to know if he doesn't reach those levels, how are you going to feel about him?
I'm expecting him to be very, very, to be talked about, to his season to be talked about, like the 2022 year.
Okay.
So I think he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, talked about amongst the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think that him and Nick are in the same boat for that perception. Nick's going to be out the door if he doesn't win a division title and a playoff win. I think that that's exactly what Jalen Hurts needs. A division title and a playoff win at home. Minimum. That's the floor. If he doesn't get that, I think Jalen Hurts goes into next year with this city being very mixed reviews on what his future is.
Okay, so yours is more so the end result.
End result, no question. I think it's about, does this team win the division? Does this team win a playoff game? Do they actually show that they were viably competing for a Super Bowl?
And I wonder if they don't make a deep playoff run, to your point, is part of the whispers of, oh, well, that year they went to the Super Bowl. He didn't really have to do much against the Giants. Even though we have talked about this, that's not true. He actually played very well against the Giants. But you know that there is a...
Oh, there will be there.
There are people that say, well, the defense really won that game. Oh, maybe knocking out 7 quarterbacks on the 49ers was the reason why they went to the Super Bowl and not Jalen Hurts. Like, you know there will be people that will have
absolutely.
that thought.
That's going to be it.
So I'm not necessarily end result. I'm going to look at Jalen Hurts, the quarterback, over a course of 17 games. And, yes, the playoffs will be included. Like, if he goes out there in the playoffs and throws 4 interceptions, we go... oh, okay, this guy wasn't built for the moment.
Yeah, if they win the division, they have a home playoff game. There isn't any way Andrew's coming in happy that day after. Right?
No, if they lose, no, of course not. But I'm going to say this. The thing that I need to see Jalen Hurts do this year, more so than throwing for 4,500 yards, more so than throwing for 30 touchdown passes, the way they get in the end zone, I don't care. Score, right? Like, Whether it's tush push, Saquon Barkley, wide receivers throwing touchdown passes, Philly specials, I don't care. You get in the end zone, and that means Jalen Hurts, by the way, probably got you downfield.
Okay.
Right? So I don't care how you score as long as you're scoring. 19 needs to be cut down to like 10. And that's turnovers. Jalen Hurts threw 15 interceptions last year and lost 4 fumbles. Fumbled the ball 6 times, lost it 4 times. 19 needs to get cut down to like 10.
I don't think that's unfair at all.
That's really because here's the thing.
Super Bowl year, he had 6 interceptions
And
I don't know how
0 lost fumbles.
Okay, I think 10. Then you're being really fair.
Right. I'm not
I think
saying
you're being
get
very-
back down to 6.
This is going to be a much more aggressive passing offense.
Yes.
Just so you know. So you got to expect the interceptions to go up. But the unforced errors, they got to go down.
Yeah, so go up from 6 interceptions in 2022
to like 9, I'd have no problem.
And then he loses a fumble at some point. It's going to happen.
I'd have no problem.
I'm surprised that he didn't fumble the football at all in 2022 or lost the he fumbled the ball 5 times.
No, he didn't.
It just got scooped up by the Eagles every single time.
Except the Super Bowl.
And that's the amazing thing about football because of the way it's shaped. It bounces every which way. But I need that 19, that number 19, which is turnovers, not J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, that number 19 of turnovers to be cut down to like 10. Because I do believe the passing yards will still be there. The 3,800 yards to maybe 4,000 if he remains healthy. The rushing yards
4,500, sir.
are yours, yeah. I believe the rushing yards will still be there and the rushing touchdowns. And I do believe that the passing touchdowns in this offense will go up a little bit. Here's the other reason why I believe these numbers go up. If you don't turn the ball over 19 times and you cut it down to 10, that means you have 9 more possessions where you could score a touchdown.
And what does that benefit your defense, too?
Well, exactly.
You're not
the
putting
defense
defenses
sucked
mostly.
last year, and yet you still put them in horrible positions. You could not allow that defense to start on the 50-yard line. Okay?
No.
I know the defense wasn't putting you in positions to start on the 50-yard line, but you sure as hell were putting them in a position to start on the 50-yard line, and that defense wasn't good enough to handle that. I need that number to cut down. And if Jalen Hurts has turnover issues again this season, I'm going to question a lot of things about this guy because he has too much talent around him to throw to where he should not be turning the football over as much. He has an offensive coordinator that is scheming players open. You have given the numbers in the past.
And he doesn't scheme an offense that causes a lot of turnovers.
So I need that number to go down. That's kind of where
That's
my
fair.
make or break sort of thing is because I expect everything else to still be there. I expect the completion percentage to still be there, if not go up.
I think that's fair. I don't think
Turnovers
anything.
are inexcusable for him last year.
Kellen Moore's offenses don't put the quarterback in a position to throw a bunch of interceptions. So
Okay.
I don't think that's unfair at all.
Connor, what is make or break for you when it comes to Jalen Hurts this season, if you believe it is a make or break season for him?
Very little, if anything. I don't think this is in any way a make or break year for Jalen Hurts. And part of that has to do with my definition of what make or break is.
And that's fine.
Like, to me, make or break means that from this year to next year, your position with the team is either completely gone, so like for Nick Sirianni, that would be you're fired, or changed to a point of no repair. And there is no way with the talent, like there's no realistic expectation with the talent level on offense and Kellen Moore as the coordinator and the skill set that we know Jalen Hurts to possess, at least to some base level, whatever you want to say that is, that next year we're not at least having the conversation of, oh, well, he could still be the guy. Like, he has a bad year this year. The conversation next year will be, oh, man, did we make a major mistake paying Jalen Hurts? Is he not the franchise quarterback we thought he was? But it will still be a conversation he can win next year, regardless of what he does this year realistically. So it's not a make or break year.
See, now
for me.
that's where our definitions change, right? I don't necessarily mean make or break, like, oh, if he has a bad season, trade him, cut him.
No.
But those conversations, I don't want to be there.
What will our summer be? If this team goes
It'll be bad.
10-7, 9-8,
Yeah. And you see some of the same issues like turnovers.
next summer is the summer of Jalen Hurts discussion.
Right.
It's just the way it is.
If you got
It's this
tired
town.
of Hurts versus Sirianni, get ready.
But that's not break. That's could be broken.
No, that
which is different to me.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is that breaking, I'm not sure that I've ever seen a player get completely broken like that 2 years in a row where the fan base then ends up changing their opinion on them.
Right.
And that does matter whether they say it or not. It does matter to management. It does matter in the, It does matter in the psyche.
Right, they're
of the
listening.
people who are the decision makers.
Believe it or not,
they
there
say
are
they
people
don't.
listening.
No, they
yeah.
say they don't. But boy, do they listen.
So what do we have on the text line? Make or break season for the Philadelphia Eagles, yes or no? Who, if not for the whole team, individually is it make or break? And where is your line? What is your definition when it comes to make or break? You can text the show at 610-632-0975. We'll get a couple of texts here, and then we'll talk about that punk-ass Orlando Arcia. What do we got, Connor?
So we actually have someone here, which I think this is an insane text, but we'll see. And they merged the two topics we're talking about today between the Eagles and the Phillies.
Okay.
They say it's a make or break year for the Phillies, not the Eagles. It's crazy that the Phillies are the only Philadelphia team that can collapse back-to-back and people still give them grace. Eagles went to the Super Bowl and then went 10-1 when most other teams don't make the playoffs after losing a Super Bowl. Phillies are more on the hot seat than the Birds.
Is that Bill Colarulo texting you?
It's not true that most teams.
Harold.
It's not true that most teams don't go to the Super Bowl and then miss the playoffs. That's a fact. That's a false fact. But I get the point that he's making. The Eagles get far less grace than the Phillies. The Phillies get total. I think from a lot of people, free pass.
Well,
on last year's.
No. People, dude, you and I have different algorithms. Now that we're on the same show, maybe our algorithm will be the same. They got eviscerated last year, and by myself included. Like
I didn't feel that
I will
at
never
all.
forgive them for what they did last year. But they still got to an NLCS following year that they got to the World Series. Their collapse, right, which was a collapse, having a 2-1 series lead and a 3-2 series lead with 2 games coming back to Citizens Bank Park is a collapse. But that is nothing like what the Eagles went through.
That would be like if the Eagles went to the NFC Championship game and blew like a 20-point lead in the second half.
See, I think the Phillies collapsed last year against the Diamondbacks. This is where we look at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the Phillies collapse against the Diamondbacks last year as almost egregious as like a 28-3, like the Falcons in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but
it was ridiculous. That was a ridiculous way to lose.
I don't totally disagree with you because of the talent discrepancy with those teams, I think. But remember what you said, 28-3 in the Super Bowl.
Oh, no, it was crazy.
The Eagles
backed
their way in and got smoked by a Baker Mayfield Tampa Bay Bucks team.
Like I turned Game 6 of the Super Bowl off. I mean, Game 6 of the World Series off against Houston. Mm-hmm. I turned the TV off, and I always go use this as my guide. Turned it off, turned off the mood lighting in the Kincade, went to bed, put my head down. It was
they lost, whatever.
I was extremely disappointed, but Game 7 last year, hell no.
No, you can't forgive them for it.
It was atrocious, and it's as atrocious now as it was then. It's not anything better.
Right, but if we're comparing that to the Eagles, it's not even a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles collapsed. But John, the Eagles collapse literally led to us questioning jobs, questioning players, questioning who should still be on this team.
I get you. But what you're not getting is that not everybody consumes it the same way. You're like telling me like I'm wrong for that.
Well, yeah,
I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. How people react to things. The Phillies choking it up last year against the Diamondbacks, to me, was every bit as puke-worthy as what the Eagles did. I was stunned by what the Eagles did.
Okay. Well,
absolutely stunned. But people consume things differently.
Yeah, but
as far as
I'm going to tell you, that's a crazy way to consume things. To count two games for a baseball team versus that collapse by the Eagles. Like, John, we talked about it as a historic NFL collapse, the likes of which we may have never seen before. Versus
we haven't seen
versus
before.
An offense going cold in 2 games in the postseason.
There was Connor. I look at it as strangely as you when you say that it was not the difference in between winning and losing for the Phillies, which you said, them swinging at balls outside the strike zone consistently over and over again. I look at that, what you say, just as crazily.
Right.
That is a ridiculous statement.
Which is why I reserve the right to call your approach crazy. I think it is.
But
that's the whole medium here, Johnny. I'm going to disagree with you.
But it's the idea of you're looking at it as you can't see that that's there's one reason. A reason they lost. They swung at balls outside the strike zone. That's the reason they lost.
That's part of the reason. It is a big part.
What was the other part?
Well, Craig Kimbrell certainly did not help you. Having a guy you put out there who completely blew a game you should have had on the road. The manager making that decision to put him in there when the whole fan base didn't trust the guy.
You got me. Hey, cheers to you on that one. I got you. That was another one.
Like, there's more to it than that. Now, that's the biggest reason.
But by that point, you came home for Game 6 and Game 7.
Yeah.
And the Diamondbacks literally didn't throw any of your star players.
You should have lost those games. It was a collapse. But I'm just saying, like, like what Connor said, to compare 2 games to 2 months of a football season.
I think the fatal flaw has always been there, and I think it's there. I think it's why you underachieved in the regular season the last 2 years with the Phillies. I think the Eagles get no grace. The Phillies get lots of grace. And I've always believed that, but I think it's this whole
John,
town.
I don't know if you could say that the Phillies have gotten grace when we've been arguing with people for the last 2 months that they're not going to lose the division.
Well, that's lunatic fringe.
Okay.
I think most people that are arguing with us are saying they're not going to win in October.
Okay.
There's a lunatic fringe that says they're not going to make the playoffs at all. Those people, I've even got a couple bets.
I know
with
you
people
do.
on the record going
that they're going to lose the division.
You really thought that was going to happen?
Yeah, that was crazy.
But no, I think that there's a difference between lunatic fringe and what that's happening.
All right, we'll get more of your text messages. You can text the show at 610-632-0975. Make or break season for the Eagles, and who individually, and then, of course, what is your line of make or break? And then when it comes to the Phillies, our secondary topic was, what do the Phillies deserve from us?
Yeah.
We are very critical, as we should be. We should always hold our teams to a high standard. But we are very critical and question a lot of things about a team that is 74-52, coming off of a year where they were in the NLCS, coming off of a year that they were in the World Series. So what do they deserve from us as a fan base? We'll expand on that coming up in a little bit. But let's talk about weak-ass, punk-ass Orlando Arcia. So yesterday, Orlando Arcia, who we all remember as Mr. Attaboy Harper from the playoff game last year. Bryce Harper gets doubled off at first base when Nick Castellanos hits the shot to the warning track, which I think we all thought was going to at least hit off the wall. Michael Harris makes the incredible play. They double up Bryce Harper. They celebrate, as they should. And then in the clubhouse, Orlando Arcia is walking around, not in front of cameras, but right next to cameras, loud enough for people to hear him saying, "Attaboy Harper, attaboy Harper."
And he never owned it.
No. We then know that Bryce Harper hit 2 moonshots in the very next game, and both times stared down Orlando Arcia as he rounded second base. Arcia, of course, the shortstop of the Atlanta Braves. Orlando Arcia is hitting .226 this season, up from his .225 batting average in the previous game because he hit a home run yesterday. As he rounded first base, he waited, by the way, to pass Bryce Harper.
Oh, he did, yeah.
To stare at Bryce Harper. So let me start off by saying that alone is weak ass. Bryce Harper did it as he rounded second.
Looking him right in the eye.
Orlando Arcia waited until he passed Bryce Harper to stare him down. Number 1, weak ass moment out of Orlando Arcia. Number 2, you are a bit player on this Braves team that is now 7 games behind the Phillies in the National League East standings. Do this during a playoff series like Bryce Harper did it. You're doing it when you're down 7 games in a playoff race. And oh, by the way, you're only a game and a half of the Mets. You could miss the playoffs, and you're taking a shot at Bryce Harper by staring him down when he did it in a playoff series, and you're doing it on August 21st.
And you had no answer for Bryce Harper last year when he did it to you twice.
No,
like you didn't step towards him. You didn't ask him what's your deal, dude.
Nope, not at all.
You just sat there, you cowered like a little baby, and now he pulls it again.
And not only did he cower like a baby when Bryce Harper did it last year, he was cowardice, as were all of his teammates, Travis d'Arnaud especially, when after the game when Bryce Harper stared down Orlando Arcia twice, they both whined and cried and tried denying that he said it.
And blamed the media and said that they were...
This is a sanctuary.
They started with, that never happened.
Right.
Then it became, this is a sanctuary.
The clubhouse is a sanctuary.
Weak.
What's said should not go out there, and now we don't trust the media.
There's a problem when you live in the country club. And the Braves have lived in the country club for a long time. And they were world champions a couple years before.
Right.
They're used to just positive. When they don't get it, they don't get the bouquets, they don't get that. Arcia, man. Alex Anthopoulos moves on from him at the end of this year. That's my call.
It's just funny. This has been on his head. Beachfront property in his head. Because it's been 11 months, all right? 11 months since that moment happened. 10 months since that moment happened. And his thought In the 7th game they played each other, this isn't the first series. We're in August. He stares him down. After he passed him, by the way, because he's weak. The Phillies are on his head. Bryce Harper's on his head.
Oh, and we are.
And we are, because remember, he was barking with fans, and Ronald Acuna Jr., of all people, had to shut him up. Oh, it's amazing. All right, coming up next, I'm sorry. We discuss more about the Eagles and the Phillies. I have some audio for you that you're going to love. Jalen Hurts and how he feels physically, and an unbiased report on how Hurts is handling one of his newest tasks as the franchise quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
A close shave for
31 on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. I just chuckled because I was reading something non-sports related. Literally as we were coming out of the break. By the way, the Wendy's is here, but I'll dive into it next break.
Yeah, we got to wait till the next break.
And we're going to get to this Jalen Hurts and Tim McManus audio in a second. But did you see the trailer for the new film, the new big film, Megalopolis?
What?
No.
I think it's a Scorsese film or something.
Interesting.
Whatever.
Okay, that gets my attention.
Right. It's a big deal. It's like the next big film that's coming out, right? So the trailer dropped yesterday, or as earlier this week, and what they did was, it's Francis Ford Coppola, not Scorsese. Another great director, right? And so what they did was they put the old Francis Ford Coppola movies like The Godfather and what critics wrote about it. Oh, flop, terrible movie. To basically be like, don't believe what critics say, believe what you really believe. But the problem is, this was part of the trailer. The quotes were wrong.
What do you mean?
Like, some of the critics that saw the trailer were like, I didn't say that.
And they put false stuff up
Godfather, Apocalypse Now, and what was the other big one that he did? Who's the Dracula? Count
Chocula.
I don't know.
Whoever the Dracula
Count
is.
Chocula.
Nosferatu. Yeah, exactly. Whatever.
Is that it? I don't know.
Frankenberry.
They put
when you said Scorsese, I thought he was a Cardinal shortstop. I don't know.
They put false quotes on.
Okay, that I'd sue.
Like that,
I would sue.
You can't do that.
I would sue if that happened. I mean, I would absolutely sue somebody. If they put something on an ad or whatever and said, Andrew Salciunas says, best movie I've ever seen, and everybody should go see it, that I'd sue.
Right. Like, Mike Missanelli returned, right? What if the day before, Crossing Broad wrote an article and was like, Andrew Salciunas said this is the worst decision by 97.5 The Fanatic ever. John Kincade said he's going to punch Mike the day he sees him. And none of that was ever said. Well, I don't know if you did say that.
Come on, there's some Brinks truck stuff that's a bunch of crap too. But so you don't know you don't know what's out there.
But how do you do that? How can you literally put false quotes on your big trailer of this big movie that's going to be coming out?
I think because people will not take the time to care about it.
Absolutely. And you might count that people don't check. So when I took the SATs, what I used to do when I wrote the essay was I would take whatever I was going to write for my first sentence, I'd put it in quotes, and I'd attribute it to Albert Einstein. And nobody ever checked. And
you did not.
I swear to God, every time I took the SATs, I put my
100% of the shots you don't take
and attributed it.
Michael
and
Scott.
I never had an issue. I nailed it. I got a perfect score on the writing with a fake quote to start.
Oh my God,
that's incredible.
It works, man. People don't check things.
Well, I found that I literally read that as we were coming on there because I watched the trailer yesterday. I was like, wow, people really said this about The Godfather, the greatest movie of all time. And then sure enough, they wrote fake quotes.
All right, write the trailer right now for the Eagles season.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
All right, real quick before we get back to our Eagles discussion, Mark Bowman, who covers the Atlanta Braves,
great dude.
For MLB.com. He's the Todd Zalecki of Atlanta.
He is the most respected Braves beat reporter.
Okay.
Period.
So he spoke with Orlando Arcia last night following the Braves lost to the Phillies and the stare down. Did you see what Arcia said?
I did.
Quote, I was just enjoying my home run when asked if he was looking at Harper tonight. When asked if he wished he could have had a stronger response last year, like you said, John, how come when Bryce Harper round the bases, you didn't do anything then? You waited until August 21st when you finally did something against the Phillies.
And he's played him a bunch of times.
Yes. Quote, I feel like we can say what we want in here, and I can't control what anyone says out there. It's the stupid sanctuary thing all over again.
It is.
This guy is so weak. I love it, dude. I don't want the Phillies to play in the wild card round.
No, you don't.
My God,
you don't want that.
Would I love to see them end their season for a
Again?
third straight freaking year, man.
Did you see what else Bowman put out, though, during the game?
No.
I retweeted it so people would see it on my timeline because Mark Bowman's a guy, complete integrity. And he said if Arcia was staring at Harper, and it appears he was. This was the kind of attitude that the Braves should have had when that incident happened last year.
Right.
Did you say that? Of course I did. The passive, they weren't supposed to hear that response, was lame. Just own up to it. That is the Braves' most respected beat writer, the most connected guy they got.
Right.
And he literally, during the game last night, said, that's really weak on the part of Arcia and the Braves.
Yeah.
That they had nobody in that clubhouse that would have done it. I promise you this. If they had Freddie Freeman and Dansby Swanson in that
They would
clubhouse,
have stopped that.
there would have been something that would have happened. And they were a passive bunch. It's why they've gotten sent home the last 2 years.
And then Bryce Harper's response was just freaking baller. I couldn't care less. I already did it. Like, that's a great response.
He
out of
gave
Harper.
the "I don't think about you at all"
Right.
response.
Look, I know Ben.
Was that Don Draper?
I know Ben Simmons is dead in this town, but there was nothing better when Jared Dudley was talking smack, and he goes, "That's Jared Dudley, man."
Yeah.
Like, who is he? Like, he's Jared Dudley. Like, that was a great. I love great responses.
I
like
think that Harper handled it perfectly.
Yes, he did.
By not pouring any gasoline on it. Now, a Harper 3-hit night
Oh, dude.
or a Harper just a home run tonight.
Well, as you said during the break, how about a hit?
Give me a hit. How about that? I will give you some good news on Harper. He was 10 for 67 in July. He's 18 for 67 in August.
Yeah, we're moving in the right direction.
Moving in the right direction.
He has 8 more hits and 67 at bats in August. But he's batting .209 during that stretch.
Now, let me ask you something. And this is what I think about whenever people talk about Bryce Harper in one of these stretches. Fast forward to October, whatever, and the Phillies are in the NLDS, and it is a 2-2 game in the 9th inning, and Bryce Harper walks to the plate.
You're still believing in him.
Oh, no.
Everybody in that building thinks he's going yard.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, as long as I see what I expect to see, and I expect to see Bryce Harper that we know show up in the next 5.5 weeks of the season. As long as that's the case, no. If he's on a streak like this and we're in October and it goes all through the end of August and September, no, I'm not going to believe that. I really am not.
I still will.
This is a streak.
I'll say it'll be like the Eagles-Buccaneers game last year.
He's like, well, yeah.
This is when it's going to turn around
for us?
It
Exactly.
didn't work, but John, the future could still be bright.
He is approaching just about a stretch. This is going to be the worst 150 bat stretch of his entire career. That includes.
But then the next 150 will be better.
That includes when he was a rookie.
Yeah, he's in a really bad stretch right now.
It's
but
really bad.
I think the ultimate gut check is if it comes down, if your season's on the line and that guy's at the plate, do you feel good or bad? Like, it will take a lot more than this stretch to make me feel bad about Bryce Harper.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree with you there. All right, Jalen Hurts. I'm going to play this for you because it will make you smile. He was finally really asked about how he feels because I feel like reporters have. I don't rip the reporters in this city, but I think they've kind of beat around the bush. I haven't heard anybody ask him really about how he feels, like the knee, the ankle, anything. He's kind of asked finally about how he feels physically. Take a listen to this answer.
I think I'm in a better place physically. I obviously had some nicks there throughout the year that I told you guys not to ask me about. But, you deal with those things. I think all of those things have made me better. They've made me reevaluate some things, and they've allowed me to reassess, and I've been able to saturate myself in the right things.
How about that? He finally confirms that he dealt with nicks last year, which we all saw. But he told them to not ask him about it.
Knicks. You think knee?
Well, there was the report from Jay Glazer
that it was a knee bruise.
It was a bone bruise on the knee.
Bone bruise. But I mean, did something was affecting his throwing?
Could have been.
Did he have did the shoulder that hurt him the year before hurt him again?
Maybe.
Well, the knee can still affect the throwing too, the way that you plan and turn and everything like that.
The torque.
You guys are burying the lead. The saturates himself in things. That is another all-time weird Jalen Hurts thing.
It is a weird.
Andrew just said that outside.
Yeah.
I'm about to saturate myself
in this breakfast
Wendy's
burrito.
breakfast burrito.
That's in my hand right now. I want to play one more clip for you that will make you smile.
Good.
One of the tasks at hand for Jalen Hurts this year is being able to read the blitz, not because of what happened last year, but because Jason Kelce is gone. And when Jason Kelce was here, he was the guy that called out blitzes. Jalen Hurts is now the guy that's going to be doing that this year. Take a listen to Tim McManus, who was on the Best Show Ever yesterday, and talked about Jalen Hurts being pretty damn good at it.
And another thing that I've been encouraged by, and I'll hone in on a specific sequence from yesterday. So they're in a 2-minute drill end of game sequence, and Hurts rushes up to the line of scrimmage, and he has a hut that gets the defense to commit as if he was about to snap the ball, and it showed the blitz. And very quickly he reset, he called out an audible, and then exactly where that blitz was coming, he threw a flare out to a running back that went for a sizable gain. Why is that important? Well, we know they struggle big time against the blitz. Now we're seeing that he's got some answers, that he has a strategy when he's up to the line of scrimmage. Get to the line quick, do some hard counts so the defense has to commit, shows where he needs to go with the ball, and then executes it. I mean, that's huge if that's able to carry over, given what we know about the struggles from last season in that particular area. So we are seeing, I think, a maturity out of Hurts.
And I also think that's coaching.
Absolutely.
That's Kellen Moore.
But I do not want to not give Hurts credit.
He deserves credit.
When we gave Hurts grief.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I'm not trying to take that away from Jalen Hurts.
I get you.
I think Brian Johnson, Nick Sirianni didn't help him last year.
No, not at all.
And I think
they certainly didn't on game day.
No, absolutely not. All right, coming up next, we'll get to some of your text messages from today's show. I would like to hear some people on Orlando Arcia. We've had our fun with it. I would like to get some of your reaction on punk-ass Orlando Arcia, weak-ass Orlando Arcia, who stared at Bryce Harper after he passed him.
Yeah, he's nice and safe. And then gets pinch run for so he doesn't have to stand next to Harper.
Exactly. It's amazing.
That's
it is
good.
Kincade and Salciunas on this Wendy's Thursday morning. We'll be giving away another $50 gift card coming up next. Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This week, the Eagles get ready to play their final preseason game Saturday.
Thursday morning. Johnny, what number?
We know what the number is. 7.
Call number 7 to the contest line, 215-263-0975. We'll win our second of 4 $50 Wendy's gift cards. Wendy's new Saucy Nugs are taking nugs to a whole new level. Choose from 7 different flavors for a whole new way to nug. It's got to be Wendy's, open till midnight or later at participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location. $50 goes a long way. You might be able to buy 2 breakfast burritos. So this break, I started eating a second breakfast burrito. So the first one that I ate was the bacon, egg, and cheese. Delicious. I just also enjoy the sausage, egg, and cheese.
I got you.
But I wasn't going to not finish the bacon, egg, and cheese. So I finished said bacon, egg, and cheese. And then I decided, well, I love the sausage, egg, and cheese. So I'm halfway done a second one.
That's what I told you to do.
I know.
I told you to do that.
2 breakfast burritos before 8 o'clock is
You're offered to
dangerous.
split it.
You're all for the brand. Yeah, Connor did offer to split it, and that's where
You know, Connor's got weird eating habits.
Connor will
but
not
so
share
But
food.
so do I. So, like, you know, I can't
he
really
won't share
talk.
it. I think you're that's a little psycho on both your parts.
If we cut it in half and I was the one who cut it, I would do it.
But if I touched it, you're not eating.
Only if you touch your half.
I told the audience, I will tell the audience, I said to Connor the hypothetical. He's out to dinner with a beautiful woman. He's really liking her. Maybe first date, second date.
Right.
And she starts picking something off his plate to try to taste it. And he said, deal breaker. So
He's out.
No. It's not
What
a
do you
deal
mean?
breaker because she would not get her hand within like a couple inches of that
you would
plate.
smack her hand.
I'm ready. I'm watching.
Wow.
I'm like, hey,
Wow.
stay on your side over there.
Can I just comment? I started laughing. I'm sorry to laugh because I could tell you're seeing me laughing. I want to thank DJ who says, I can't tell today if it's Salciunas and Steve Irwin. He goes, John's shirt looks like he should be the croc hunter, the crocodile hunter.
It's a nice shirt.
It's a nice shirt.
It's a nice shirt.
This is for the member today at Chester Valley.
I feel like you would
That's
wear
good.
Steve.
I
Is it
could-
safari themed tournament?
That's
today?
what he. That's what,
Nah, but you know what? I could see him wearing that at a resort. That's a resort shirt.
it's a golf.
Yeah, it's a resort
It's fun.
shirt.
It's a fun day.
I can
golf
see you wearing that
Yes.
at a resort.
And
Oh,
I've
I
seen
will,
the way Johnny
believe me.
plays. He's going to need to, if he wants to camouflage into the woods where he's going to be, like, he's going to look great now.
That could work out well. So I had to laugh. Sometimes even you mean people. That was funny.
mean people.
And I like DJ. DJ listens every day.
It's a nice shirt.
said
I
it's a
like
fun
it.
guy. I like it too.
It is a nice shirt.
All right, so let's get to a couple text messages, but real quick, I want to let you know about tomorrow. Tomorrow at 8 a.m., so just about this time tomorrow,
Okay.
the next online ticket raid for FanFest. FanFest coming our way Saturday, September 28th at Xfinity Live. Of course, all presented by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Biggest part of the year for Philadelphia sports fan. Check out 975thefanatic.com for all the information. But an online ticket raid this time tomorrow, about this time tomorrow, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. All right, what do we have on the text line there, Connor?
I cannot believe none of us had this thought when we talked about the Arcia thing. But Dawood in the Northeast checks in. He says, am I the only one that's glad that Arcia is talking to Bryce? Maybe that might wake his ass up from the slump he's in because, quite
I think
frankly,
we've all had that
the way
thought.
his at-bats have looked, he may have needed a curveball machine or some motivation pretty soon.
Yeah, I think we all kind of had that same thought.
I didn't think
Yeah.
that at all.
Oh, really?
honestly.
I thought of it.
It
Like
didn't come to me.
I'm expecting something out of Bryce Harper today. But John said 3 hits.
No, I'm saying is that because that's what Bryce tends to do. We've seen him a few times appear to break out of this and then regress right back to a 1 for 14.
Right.
Which is really odd because usually when he breaks through, then it lands into the world of stability. It has not been there with this. This is a different stretch for him that he has not seen in his career coming up. This is different. I want to see it. I have a feeling the break, maybe I'm just hoping, that the bust out is coming. And today'd be perfect for it. He loves hitting in that ballpark.
We'd have
He
to
does.
send Arcia an edible arrangement. If he gets Harper out of this stretch,
I'll give him
after
a
last year-
Wendy's breakfast
That'd be fine.
burrito.
That's great.
I'll take
We
care
should
of him
do
for
that.
that. All right, what else do we have on the text line?
All right, we have a bunch of people checking in on the make or break season. Bruce in East Earl checks in on the make or break for the Eagles, and he says, my make or break is the defense. With how bad it was last season, I can't get behind them until I see that they have improved. In my mind, a realistic scenario this season, I would ask your opinion, what if the Birds go 10-7, Hurts does all these great things offensively, but the defense doesn't improve? how would you look at that changing? It goes back to that Ray Dunn thing on the bend don't break. This is the final year either way.
Right. Now, here's the thing. They are going with a youth movement, more of a youth movement, especially on the defensive front, right? With Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis being your main guys in the middle. Bryce Huff is still a young player, your big offseason addition. Josh Sweat, I know, has been here for some time. But the cornerback position, except for Darius Slay, is a full-on youth movement. Whether it's slot or the other outside corner, you're going youth. And it's safety. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is a bit of a vet now in the NFL. Reed Blankenship is still very young. If there are growing pains with the defense early on, the Chiefs had growing pains.
They did.
And then the next year, which was last year, there weren't growing pains.
No, the defense was their strength last year. The year before, the offense had to carry the defense.
Right. So I can't say it's necessarily make or break for this defense just yet. When we asked, you and I specifically asked for a youth movement, knowing that there would be growing pains. All right, we'll expand on that coming up next. Also, today's headlines with Connor Thomas at 8:05, and Andrew DeCecco will be joining us at 8:10. And later on the 8 o'clock hour, speaking of the defense, you guys know my biggest concern. It's the pass rush. John Kincade has told me that he will put some of that at ease.
I'm going to make you feel better.
I sure hope so. It is Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Looking for
One on Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5 The Fanatic on this Wendy's Thursday morning. Just crushed my second breakfast burrito. I think I'm going to cool it for a couple hours before I put anything else into my body. 2 breakfast burritos before 8 a.m. That'll do it to you.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
not
I
good.
might take a nap in the 9 o'clock hour.
No, you're not.
You guys might need to handle the final hour. You get 2 breakfast burritos and you start getting a little sleepy. All right, we have today's headlines with Connor Thomas at 8:05. Andrew DiCecco will join us at 8:10 as he does every single Thursday morning. But real quick, I just saw a tweet. Eagle Fan Central put this out there. It's funny, but it makes you think, what if?
Uh-oh.
So Carson Wentz is on the Kansas City Chiefs now
Okay.
on a 1-year deal. He's following the exact same trajectory of Nick Foles. He played for the He played for the Rams.
Okay.
Now the only difference is Carson went to the Commanders and Nick Foles didn't do that.
Chiefs.
But Rams, then Chiefs.
Okay.
He says that means he'll be back in Philly next year as the backup, and he will be your Super Bowl 60 MVP.
That's really...
Does it happen?
No. Because one guy is welcome back in the building. One guy is not. Nick Foles was welcomed back to the organization with open arms. Carson Wentz coming back into the organization would be rolled eyes.
What if he's a new man?
He could be.
What if he's new? He goes, you know what? I learned my errors of my past.
I think
I didn't handle the Jalen Hurts situation well. I'll go in there and be the best backup. He's being the backup to Patrick Mahomes. He knows he's not playing.
I think the one thing I'd lean on with that is that I would say when he got to Indianapolis and he said, boy, it's nice to be among my people.
Yeah.
These are my kind of people.
Oh, yeah, also Indianapolis.
At that point, I got to tell you. Hey, I got a buddy who lived that whole experience with him in Indianapolis, and he said it was wild.
This is
wild.
This is 4 team in 4 years now, right?
Believe so, yeah.
Because it went, fifth team in 5 years. Eagles to the Colts to the Commanders. Basically a free agent all last year until he gets signed late by the Rams and the Stafford got hurt. Now with the Chiefs.
And if Andy can't fix you,
well, yeah.
like nobody can.
So we'll find out this year if Carson Wentz is still going to be an NFL quarterback, I guess, moving forward.
Now, are they his kind of people? Like I thought when he went to the Rams last year. Hey, yeah, Carson, are you good to be? Are these your kind of people?
He doesn't seem like an LA kind of guy.
No,
he
doesn't.
Kansas City. He seems like a Kansas City guy.
He could fit in Kansas City. He may be actually too metropolitan for Kansas City.
He's going to be great when the Vikings need a backup for J.J. McCarthy.
He's
a Minnesota guy.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Ray's going to KC this weekend, right? Or is it next weekend? Ray was going for a wedding.
Oh, is he really?
No, the Phillies are going to KC this weekend. Ray Dunn arrives the weekend after.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's just missing out.
So the Phillies players are going to open up all the watering holes and everything for Ray Dunn. That's interesting. That's a really interesting thought. It's a bad thought, though. It's
Carson Wentz, your Super Bowl 60 MVP for the Philadelphia Eagles.
What do they call them? Intrusive thoughts? That's an intrusive thought. That's not good.
You can text the show at 610-632-0975. We're going to get to more of your text messages coming up, but it is 8:05. It is time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What up, Connor?
It feels so good to be back, boys. I haven't done this in a couple of days. So we've got some interesting things going on right now around the Philadelphia sports scene that we haven't really touched on today. The first one, we have some huge news. I don't know if you guys caught this. I can't believe we didn't lead with it.
What's that?
There's probably a national reporter or two out there that are upset that this was not the big story on Kincade and Salciunas this morning. Jalen Hurts threw his first interception of training camp yesterday, and everybody rejoices because, according to Nick Wright, he was throwing too few interceptions.
That's right. Nick Wright saying he's thrown too few interceptions, and there's a reporter in this town that tracks all that stuff, and it's crazy.
I don't give a damn how many interceptions he throws or doesn't throw in training. Like, I don't care. I care if he's learned the system or not. I think it's one of the all-time...
They don't play defense during training camp. What don't you understand, pass tracker guy who covers the Eagles? They don't play defense. The edge rushers cannot finish sacks. Neither can the defensive tackles. All right, they can't touch the quarterback, so his life is easier. He's not doing anything spectacular. That's great. Would we panic if he threw 20 interceptions? Maybe we would. But his life is so much easier. I'm not trying to take anything away from Jalen Hurts.
If he threw 20 interceptions in training camp, I sure as hell would panic.
But this isn't real football.
No, I got
it's
you.
not a real stat. It's not like it. Just stop.
This is 7-on-7 stuff.
Yes.
This is like it's not real.
So I'll ask you, gut reaction. Dumbest Philadelphia sports narrative you can remember, because I think this is in the conversation.
What, the Jalen Hurts not throwing an interception in camp
Any care about Jalen Hurts' interceptions in camp this year?
Dumbest ever? I think one of the things last year that bothered me a lot was they got to blitz more. And first off, the defense sucked. Blitzing or no blitzing was not going to make things any better. Their statistics when they did blitz were toward the bottom of the league.
Yep.
So you were demanding them to do something that they were horrible at. I get the run the ball thing because I do like a little bit more of a balanced offense. But one of the things that bothers me, and a lot of Eagles fans do this, is just scream blitz more. And when they did blitz, I believe Brock Purdy was 11 of 12.
Yeah, he was
throwing against the blitz. Like, that kind of stuff bothers me. Now, that's fans. That's not reporters who are.
It can be fans.
I'm gonna wound teenage Andrew. Practice. We're talking about practice?
Teenage Andrew. I was like 6.
Well, I mean, seriously, I'm gonna like it, but I know he's one of your idols.
Yes, he is.
Is that the idea that practice doesn't matter? And there were people that just were like, no, it doesn't matter. Just show up for games. That's like one of those ones that got discussed for years.
Yeah.
For years and years. That if you're good enough, you can just show up.
That would
just show
drive
up
me
for
crazy.
games. Or show up 15 minutes before games. Or show up a half hour before games.
With the Corona in your hand.
Exactly.
And then drop 40.
Exactly.
Great picks by you guys. All right, another one I'm going to need your help with. We had a big name around baseball announce his retirement yesterday. Now, he wasn't really playing still, but Joey Votto officially announced his retirement from baseball.
What was he doing?
That's a great question, and that's part of the conversation.
Okay.
Because my initial reaction was, how has this guy, with his ability, not gotten more recognition? So,
Joey Votto is a future Hall of Famer in Major League Baseball.
Yes.
And he's not been talked about. He's probably, in our lifetime, the most underrated player in Major League Baseball.
And that's where I'm going. Who are some other Joey Votto-like guys, if you do agree with that, and I do as well, that you have seen in your lifetime?
I still believe Zach Wheeler is underrated.
Oh, so do I.
Nationally, and maybe not so much locally anymore. Like when he first got here, there was the debate about Zach Wheeler versus Aaron Nola, and I was on the right side of history, like I usually am, saying that Zach Wheeler's the better pitcher. But nationally, I still don't think he gets the recognition because he's not like Spencer Strider. He wears tight pants and he has a Fishtown mustache, right? Like there's some pitchers are cooler than Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler makes zero headlines except for his pitching, and I think Zach Wheeler is one of those guys.
Johnny?
In the modern era, it's harder. I always think of my one in baseball that I always think of is Dale Murphy. And I just think that he's somebody that I can't believe he's not a Hall of Famer when other people are. Mm-hmm. In the modern era, it is hard. I think Zach Wheeler is one of those guys. I don't want to use Zach Wheeler. It's hard. I'm gonna pass.
Yeah, because there aren't a lot of Joey Vottos out there.
Yeah, there aren't. Not to be, because I'm trying to think everybody in comparison to Joey Votto.
That dude's going to the Hall of Fame.
Joey Votto should be a Hall of Famer. I don't think he's going to be like a first ballot.
No, but he'll get into it at some point.
Yeah.
It's because it's a shame. He played for Cincinnati for as long as he did, right? And Cincinnati barely made any playoff runs. Right. We, of course, know the no-hitter for Roy Halladay.
By the way, he played there happily and proudly.
Yes, he did.
Too.
Which, honestly, you got to respect, right?
No, I totally respect it. Is that when you're the face of a franchise and you own it and you embrace the city and you, never demanding to be sent out of town. Yeah.
Last thing here to lead into our interview with Andrew DeCecco, our conversation about the Birds.
First off, let's just throw this out there because I'm sure there are some people, John, and I can't believe it would be a high percentage, but I'm sure there are some people that are saying that this isn't a make or break year for the Eagles or for individuals. And if that's the case, I think you're crazy, but...
For the team or for individuals?
Dude, I would say for the team, too. This team is too talented. This team has so much going on for them.
It's absolutely a make or break year for the team. Here's the way I see it, and I brought this up to Brendan Gunn when I was telling him that I wanted this clip. It's like if you went to the doctors and you had like this one weird symptom. And they're like, the only way you could get this symptom is if you traveled to this strange foreign country that you've never been to. There's no way it's this disease, so we're going to give you medicine to take care of the symptom, and you should be fine. Okay, cool. You're healthy. Then if the next year rolls around and that same symptom pops up, you've got that disease. However strange it sounds, whatever 1 in a million it is, if you see the same thing happen twice and it's such an anomaly, you cannot possibly look at that as not a major problem. And that's what's going to happen if the Eagles have similar problems last year. It's going to be too much to overlook, regardless of the talent of the roster, the coaching staff, anything. You're going to have to make major changes.
All right.
I'm going to see if this is. I say the same thing for the Phils. The same disease that ended 22, ended 23. Hopefully it doesn't end 24.
We sure hope so. All right, let's head to the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next from Inside the Birds. And, of course, here on 97.5, The Fanatic. I got to hang out with them last week during the Eagles pregame show. Andrew DeCecco joins us. Andrew, what's going on, man? Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I'm doing great. How's everybody?
We are doing fantastic. We are 15 days away from the Eagles-Packers game, 14 days away from Chiefs-Ravens, so we're getting closer and closer. So, Andrew, let's talk about this. Some of the position battles. Obviously, it looks like Mekhi Becton will be your starting right guard. That was pretty clear when he was not dressing during the second preseason game, and Tyler Steen did. As we get closer, have you come to terms with maybe some position battles ending and who you think the winners will be of those battles?
Well, looking at the third wide receiver spot, that's still largely unsettled to me, Andrew. And you and I got into this a little bit last week, but I still don't believe that third wide receiver is currently on the roster, which complicates things a bit as you're trying to configure it because Harris Campbell is that lone veteran. He gives you inside and outside versatility, but no one's really emerged. I think Britton Covey's had the best camp out of all of them, pretty far and away, but I think if you're the Eagles, you want to find somebody that you can lean on a little bit more that gives you that positional versatility. And I don't know that that's been settled right now. But right guard, you mentioned, you can kind of write his name in pen. Mekhi Becton, he's going to be your right guard. Linebacker, to me, is another position I'm going to be keying in on over the next couple of days because you've seen a lot of mixing and matching throughout the summer. Devin White's been pretty much the constant there with the first team. Nakobe Dean, to me, is the player that I believe will ultimately be the Week 1 starter opposite Devin White. But still, there's a lot that needs to be determined here in the coming days. So I think that's one that I'll be keeping an eye on.
I want to look at the corner position, and I want to look at the youngsters. It's such a young defensive backfield. Do you believe in any way that it would potentially stunt the growth of a Quinyon Mitchell if he wasn't put in there either, to be opposite Darius Slay and being asked to play differently and move around sort of like a Swiss Army knife?
I don't know that it would stunt his growth, John, because everything that's been thrown Quinyon Mitchell's way throughout the summer, he's been able to ace the test. He's checking off all the boxes. He's playing dime. He's played nickel. He's played outside. And I think that what really stands out about him is his ability to have a short memory, good or bad. And I think that's something that all young corners need to have to be successful at that position. So I don't think that him maybe not starting or anything like that would really impact him. I happen to think that he will be starting either at nickel or outside. If the Eagles go into base, Quinyon, as of the last few days, has been the outside corner opposite Darius Slay. And then when they go to nickel, he's kicking inside and Isaiah Rodgers is coming on. But I think that he's just done so much this summer positively that it's going to be really hard to keep him off the field early.
Andrew, you look at things probably much more logical and less emotional, as I do. You're a reporter, a journalist, not a fan like I am.
He's a robot.
You're a robot. I said this earlier in the offseason, and I kind of said it again today. I think highly of Jalen Hurts, and I expect big things out of him. I'm also going to hold him to a higher standard because of everything that's around him and because of Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator. You have tried to preach patience with the offense for us. So what is fair or unfair when it comes to expectations for Jalen Hurts, Mr. $250 million man with two top 10 arguable wide receivers, at least the best duo, maybe the best trio if you add Saquon Barkley to the mix of weapons? What are fair or unfair expectations for Jalen Hurts this season?
Well, I think that you're going to see Jalen take that next step, that gradual evolution as a passer. All signs have indicated that. He's had a good camp. Now, he hasn't pushed the ball down the field a ton. He's been very accurate and on time in the intermediary levels of the field, which you really want to see. His timing has been there. I think he's going to be able to take the weapons that he has and find a way to maximize that. I think you're going to see him become more of a full field reader and just be in full command of the offense. You've heard Kellen Moore say that. You heard Nick Sirianni say that in the camp that he's having. And everything that we've seen has reflected that. Whether or not he's thrown 10 interceptions or just the one yesterday, I don't know that you could put a limit on that. I think you've seen him grow exponentially throughout the summer in different ways. Whether or not that can be shown on the stat sheet, that's to be determined. But I think he's going to have a really big season.
I know you consume a lot of media around the NFL, around locally, about this football team. So tell me, what do you think has been the most overhyped story or story you don't agree with that has been covered coming out of camp? And which one do you say, pay attention to this one especially?
Great question. I think you're seeing a lot of questions about the defense, right? I think there's so much question about Bryce Huff being an every down player, and that's justifiable. But I think in the defense as a whole, you hear a lot of, and nationally, I would say, you hear a lot of, well, Vic Fangio is going to have to work with a lot of different moving parts here and there. Well, I've seen the defense come together throughout camp. You see encouraging signs from players that are going to be pivotal to their success. So I think covering it as close as I have, you're seeing the potential. For me, I think that they could be anywhere from 15 to 17, which would be a drastic improvement to where they were last season defensively. So that's something that I think is going to be something to keep an eye on. And then one thing that I think does have some validity to it and should be looked at as much as it has is the handling of protection between Cam Jurgens at center and Jalen Hurts, doling out those assignments, because the Eagles have, I should say, the defense has provided some pressure up front and gotten home for what would have been sacks. So that's something that I think you're seeing Vic Fangio and his defense throw a lot at the offense and seeing if they're able to handle it, which I think is going to be critical to the early season success. But that is something that I am keeping an eye on.
We always ask who needs to take this next step forward or the next leap on the Eagles. I'll just ask you who you believe will take that leap forward where we're going to say, damn, that guy had a much better season this year, and maybe he even starts getting talked about more across league circles. Who is that player on the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, I would say Quinyon Mitchell. He's going to take a big step, but I'm going to give you a third-year player who has been under intense scrutiny, and that's linebacker Nakobe Dean. Nakobe, prior to that open practice, I should say anything after that open practice where he really struggled in coverage against Kenny Gainwell, this is a player who really is starting to round into form. He's becoming more confident. He's playing with more control. He's attacking downhill, which is where he's best, but he's also showing signs of a player who is capable of playing in space. That's not what he's necessarily great at doing, but you see the instincts, and if he's able to put it all together, Andrew, I believe that he is the Eagles' best linebacker, and I think he's going to be able to prove that if he's able to stay healthy, and he should become more of a household name by season's end.
When you talk to players, what have they been saying to you about camp? What have they been saying to you about this coaching staff? Do you walk away with an impression of positivity heading into the regular season?
That's the general consensus that I've gotten, John. You hear the uptick in physicality, the longer practices, and how they really like what they're getting, the value, and maximizing the time that they have out there. There's not a lot of wasted time on the field. There's an up-tempo nature and physicality to practice that we haven't really seen in the Nick Sirianni era. So I think you see that urgency and you feel the urgency from the players. So and with the coaching staff, you get the fresh perspective of a Kellen Moore. A lot of the offensive players have spoke glowingly about him and what he brings and some of the different iterations to the offense and wrinkles that he's bringing. It sort of reinvigorates a lot of the players when you saw that stagnant offense last season. Vic Fangio, the general consensus you get on him is he's old school. We like that he's tough. He's going to hold you accountable. He's not shy to call someone out. It doesn't matter whether you're at the top of the totem pole or the bottom. Not exempt from criticism. So I think that a lot of players have responded favorably to that. and you really see it manifest on the field. So that's sort of my main takeaway from that.
Andrew, great stuff as always, man. Can't wait to talk to you again next Thursday, but also can't wait to talk to you on Saturday for the final preseason pregame show before we get set for week one when the Eagles take on the Packers in 15 days. We appreciate it, man.
Looking forward to it, guys. Have a great day.
There he is, Andrew DeCecco on the
DeCecco.
Comcast Business Line. Love the DeCecco. Somebody tweeted at us or texted us not long ago, like, how come you guys don't call it the check-in?
I've been calling
like
it that is. The check-in is what it is.
John's been calling it for months now.
I'll tell you, he is a bit of a robot, though.
He is.
I've enjoyed watching, since I've been home here, watching Eagles games on the home games, sitting next to Andrew in the press box. I learn every week.
You know why I love him?
learn every week.
It's just football. It's not tracking passes.
Right.
We have history. No interceptions thrown. Like,
I'm learning.
It's just football, man. I appreciate Andrew DeCecco.
Back up the Brinks truck for that guy. He's doing
All right,
well.
coming up next, we will continue talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. John is going to try to put me at ease.
I'm going to make you smile.
As will Tim McManus. Because I have concerns about the pass rush, as you guys know. John's going to try to help me. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. 97.5 The Fanatic on this Wendy's Thursday morning. Still have another Wendy's gift card to give away at some point this hour. We have 2 left, both worth $50. So I'll let you know when you can call the contest line. But selfishly, I don't want to do it right now because selfishly, I need John Kincade to put me at ease because he said he would, or at least try to make me feel better.
I'm going to just I'm going to give you a truth bomb, and then I'm going to say to you that you should feel better.
So, as you guys have listened to the show, what are we at now? 117, 114. Oh, I can't get ahead of myself. We are at show 114.
117 is not promised.
No, we're at show. You're right.
I sure hope it is.
You won't be here for 117.
I won't be here.
You'll be on vacation.
Yes, I might bump into you at Kohler's.
So, I have been steadfast in telling you about my biggest concern with the Eagles. It's not Jalen Hurts. It's not about the beef of Hurts and Sirianni, even though that was a concern of mine. I thought that could get worked out, and it did. I don't necessarily think that you could work out a weak part of your team. And I do believe that the pass rush is weak. Is it the weakest part of the team? No. Linebackers is obviously the biggest question mark, but we'll see how that plays out. I worry about relying solely on Jalen Carter to basically make this defense operate. Jordan Davis is a great run stopper. I'm talking about getting after the quarterback.
Which is huge, right?
Yes, and the team that got to the Super Bowl just 2 years ago sacked the quarterback 70 times.
Yes.
And I think of strong pass rushes as teams that do well in the postseason because they can force the quarterback to make a mistake. I think back to the only team that ever won a Super Bowl in Eagles franchise history. Jalen Mills and Ronald Darby were not Darrelle Revis and Asante Samuel. Mm-hmm. All right? They were Ronald Darby and Jalen Mills, but that pass rush of Fletcher Cox and Tim Jernigan and Brandon Graham, a younger Brandon Graham, and Chris Long, who is just a rotational piece. Those guys were getting after the quarterback, making the quarterback make mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't see that right now in Bryce Huff as a full-time player. Josh Sweat, as you guys have heard me talk about over the years, is not somebody that I really have the highest of expectations for. I think he's a guy. I remember people trying to tell me that he could be Myles Garrett one day, and I thought that was asinine, and I've been correct about that. So the pass rush is still a concern of mine, no matter how many great things I hear at a training camp, and I'll play you something from Tim McManus in a minute, but you believe you can try to put me at ease.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you the Mandela effect.
Okay.
I just heard you gush about the 2017 Eagles
Mm-hmm.
and all this elite pass rush. They were a middle-of-the-pack pass rush.
Okay.
They were 15th. They had one guy who came in 21st. Brandon Graham led the team in sacks at 9.5. They didn't even have a double-digit sack guy. Their best guy, 20 guys in the league, were better than him. They had a bunch of guys who got spare parts, who got 4 here, 5 here, whatever. They ham and egged it to 15th. They had 38 sacks as a team. The year they won the Super Bowl, our only Super Bowl, the Eagles had 38 sacks. Now, they had 70 a couple of years ago. That was sexy.
Right.
That was really, really sexy. But they had 38 the year they won the Super Bowl. More importantly, they were in 2004, modern era still.
Correct.
When they went to the Super Bowl. That Eagles team that was so great with Andy Reid. Javon Kearse led the team in sacks with 7.5. He was 31st in the league.
Well, the corners were good on that.
They really were.
Yeah.
And
I'm not comparing.
No, I'm saying it,
yeah.
but the thing is the pass rush was not elite.
Okay, but the corners were very good. I don't know if I have that yet here.
No, I got you. But if you're looking for the pass rush to be elite, Brandon Graham was 21st in the year they won the Super Bowl, and the Eagles were 15th overall. The Eagles, is the year they went to the Super Bowl, Javon Kearse, 7.5, led the team.
Now, 2004 is kind of weird because the league is at a different spot offensively. There's just significantly more dropbacks and more throwing. But 2017, that point very firmly stands.
32 less sacks. The team that won the Super Bowl had 32 less sacks.
Okay.
I think sacks is one of the most overrated statistics that anyone will throw at you because of this. I think the sacks, why did the Eagles get 70 sacks in 2022?
Because the corners were good enough? Is that what
No, I'm going to say it to you because they were leading by 2 scores almost all the time.
Okay.
Gotcha.
They had the most historic second quarter of any team in the history of the NFL. They were leading in the second half in 15 of 17 games. They just teed off on opposing quarterbacks. They were up by 2 scores. They tee off on opposing quarterbacks. Jonathan Gannon said, go get them, sick them.
Right.
They're up by 10. They're up by 14. They're up by 17. And I think a lot of that 70 sacks, I'm going to tell you, and it's blasphemy to many Eagles fans, garbage stats.
Yeah, and look,
They
I
were
don't,
garbage.
need, I don't need 70.
No, but I'm saying is that I actually think sacks are many times a byproduct of your offense, not your defense.
Okay.
That this offense is going to make your sack totals better because you're going to be able, this offense, I think, is going to give them more 2-score leads in the second half. Start attacking opposing quarterbacks, which I think pays off for guys like Bryce Huff and pays off for a guy like Nolan Smith when you're just saying to them, do one thing. Get him, boys.
Right.
Go get him. It's 2nd and 11. Go get him. We're up by 14. Attack. And I think that makes players that are maybe more marginal more exceptional.
Okay, and look, it doesn't have to be necessarily the number of sacks. Like the Kansas City Chiefs last year, they had 31 sacks.
31. I bet you the 31 sacks. I bet you that number is the lowest for a Super Bowl champion in the modern era.
I don't know.
I would tell you that
we could try to find that out.
30, the number, because I do know this, 36 usually puts you in the middle of the pack. 36 sacks usually means you're right around the middle of the pack.
I may have lied to you. Hold on.
Because that'd be really low.
I may be in the wrong year. I'm on the 2017 season. Hold on.
Okay, that'd be low. Yeah, they weren't very good that year.
But
I'm gonna say.
then again, their corners were tremendous. So,
yes, they were.
And that's the thing. Like their cornerbacks were tremendous. I'm not there yet with the Eagles. I don't believe yet.
And I
we'll
got
see.
you.
Like Darius Slay, you know how I feel about Darius Slay. I think
and I'm not telling
tremendous.
you this is going. I'm not telling you they're going to be some amazing sack machine this year.
Right.
But I do believe that
Chiefs had second most last year, by the way.
I do believe the idea that sacks is why I don't think it's going to crush you.
Totally agree with Johnny here.
Okay.
Wow.
I do.
Well, no, again, it's
Kumbaya.
not just sacks. Like, it's everything. It's getting to the quarterback. Now, pressures, the Eagles were actually 5th in the league in pressures
Correct.
last year.
And that's the thing is that pressures can be almost as important a stat.
Can be, yeah.
What, do I believe that it is as important? No, not necessarily.
It's like
But it can be.
It's like the quality start. 6
Exactly.
innings,
No, quality
3
start's
earned
not.
runs.
A
Like
a 4.5 ERA is the stupidest stat in all of baseball. Next to some of these abwarb that they tell you about players. That's probably the
I'm just worried about the pass rush because I do believe pass rush and cornerbacks secondary is a good marriage to have.
You're
Unless
absolutely right.
one is dominant, and here's the deal. I don't think the pass rush or the secondary is dominant, and that's my biggest concern. Now, here's Tim McManus yesterday at the Best Show Ever talking about how good Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis have looked.
Jalen Carter is the lead man there. I mean, he's a problem. And he gets double-teamed a lot. You're seeing the line shift in his direction pretty frequently. And there was one play today that really summed it up, where actually he somehow got locked in on Lane Johnson, was still able to get deep into the backfield, and he blew up what was going to be a read option for Hurts. Hurts keeps it, and Carter's just on him. And that was it. You see that pop. And I would say the same thing with Jordan Davis. Watching him in one-on-ones the past 2 days, he's not always going up against top-tier offensive linemen in those situations, but he's just able to bulldoze guys and use that weight and athleticism and power to his advantage. Yeah, I would say that the front, as we've talked about, why is the offense maybe not going at the highest of levels? I think that you have to credit, those two guys in the defensive front overall for part of the problem that's being created.
Look, if they can be a problem for a full season, this defense will be better.
Oh, yeah.
It just has to be a full season. And I'm sorry to put a lot of faith in a top 10 pick that was arguably a top 2 pick had he not had some off-the-field issues in Jalen Carter. And Jordan Davis, it's time to step up.
Oh, no, it is.
You're no longer a rookie. You're not a second-year player.
No.
It's time to step up. Man, there's a lot of pressure on those two guys this year. All right, coming up next, we get to your text messages on today's topics. And also, I told Connor Thomas not to listen to it. Connor was not in yesterday, and he was sick, so he was sleeping during the Sirianni press conference. Connor, you missed a masterclass from Nick Sirianni on leadership.
Can't wait.
We play that for you coming up next. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Also, something interesting that Rob Thompson said. 97.5 The Fanatic. I know Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. All right, we're going to get back to some texts and some calls, but two things. I'm going to play you this Nick Sirianni answer.
Oh, jeez.
No, I mean, look, come on. I don't want to spoil it for Connor because Connor's going to learn.
Yeah, Connor's
going to learn about leadership.
What are the chances I can spin this positively?
Oh,
Zero.
I guarantee you. No, this is
Zero.
This is incredible.
Okay.
But before we play, real quick, so Rob Thompson, after the game yesterday, the Phillies win, was asked about Weston Wilson because he had 2 hits. Out of the 5 hits that the team had, Weston Wilson had 2 of them yesterday. And he said right away, quote, "I'm thinking about starting him tomorrow. The at-bats are so good." Yep. This is a different Rob Thompson, maybe, playing the hot hand because normally it's, oh, you went 3 for 4? Well, I got to bench you tomorrow because the splits and blah, 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 because they're going up against a right-handed pitcher tonight. So normally Wilson would not be in the lineup against a right-handed pitcher, but Rob Thompson already said last night that Weston Wilson might be in the lineup. Now, here's the question. Does that mean Marsh is in center and Rojas is on the bench, and Rojas has been swinging a good bat recently? What do you do?
If Marsh is getting to play and they're benching Rojas, again, it is just doubling down on stupid. It's just doubling down on it.
I just, it's a weird spot that he's going to put himself in. If he plays Weston Wilson tonight, which he should.
Weston Wilson earned the start.
Does anybody believe he's going to be the savior for the Phillies in October? No. But Weston Wilson is playing some decent baseball right now, and he had a nice night last night, had another good night a couple nights before that. He had the cycle not that long ago, right? If he puts him in the starting lineup tonight, obviously there has to be one guy between Johan Rojas and Brandon Marsh that doesn't play.
And it should never be Rojas sitting. It shouldn't be.
Well, you can't go. That's the thing. You can't go never on a player like Johan Rojas.
No, because he deserves, right now, Johan Rojas deserves to be in there.
Well, that's a different conversation.
And I'm saying he deserves. No, we're talking about tonight for that game. For tonight's game.
Okay.
Not for the week, not for tonight.
Well, you said never, so I want to make sure we're.
Right. Yeah, I'm saying never for tonight's game. There should never be a reason why he would be benching Rojas tonight. None at all. None at all.
Well, there is a reason.
Why?
But this is where you're in the hard spot. The reason is right-handed pitcher on the mound. So Brandon Marsh, we have said that he's going to platoon with Rojas. Because remember, forget Weston Wilson for a second. When Austin Hayes came in here, it was decided that Marsh and Rojas would platoon. Marsh gets the start against right-handed pitching. Rojas gets the start against left-handed pitching.
Okay.
Now, all of a sudden, with the Austin Hayes injury and Weston Wilson playing well, but Brandon Marsh not playing well, do you tell Brandon Marsh, hey, we know there's a righty on the mound tonight, but you're not getting the start because Johan's been swinging the good bat? Or are you telling Johan, hey, we know you've been playing some good baseball right now, but we got to keep Marsh's head on straight because this is his start against the right-handed pitcher. It's a tough spot for Thompson to be in.
I think that one of the reasons why you said it's a different Rob Thompson. I think Rob Thompson paid attention to his owner, and I guarantee you he heard what he had to say. And it was very obvious who he was talking to.
I don't think this decision makes as much impact as we think it does, like whether it's Marsh or Rojas. So that's why I think he's going to stick with what the initial plan was. Like, I really don't think it's that big of a deal if it's Marsh or Rojas in center tonight.
You don't think so?
No.
He just keeps – the thing is, though, is that it just keeps saying, this is a guy, you have exceeded what we told you we thought for you to be an everyday player for us.
Yeah.
You've exceeded what we were on the record documented. You're doing better.
Right.
You're hitting better than Marsh, Stott. You have a better batting average than those guys.
Yeah.
And we're still going to continue to say – yeah, but you know what? We're not going to.
The conversation was not everyday player compared to Brandon Marsh. It was everyday player in center field compared to nobody else you had. And now that Marsh is not an everyday player, Rojas has to eat that because you have to give Marsh days off and you split him with Austin
But
Hayes.
here's the deal. So Weston Wilson gets the start tonight because he's being rewarded for good play.
And listen,
Brandon Marsh in the month of August is hitting 192. Johan Rojas in the month of August, similar sample size, is hitting 316.
And you said, and listen to how you even framed it. And Brandon Marsh needs some nights off. Why are you why are we working overtime to get him more opportunities when he's not delivering? Give the guy who's actually hitting.
All right,
Give him more opportunity.
Let's dive deeper into this coming up next, and I got to play this Nick Sirianni masterclass of leadership because Connor needs to learn because Connor's not being a leader right now.
Yeah,
or
you're not
maybe he
leading.
is.
You're not
maybe he's
leading,
leading
Connor.
emotionally, thinking about Brandon Marsh. We got to play this Sirianni audio for you, but I don't know. Let's dive deeper into this Rojas Marsh thing for tonight because it might have implications. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phil's find a way to victory.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. On this Wendy's Thursday morning, and I did not give away a gift card in the 8 o'clock hour, Connor. So
Yeah.
what number, Connor?
5.
Call number 5 to the contest line, 215-263-0975. We'll win a $50 Wendy's gift card. Wendy's new Saucy Nugs are taking nugs to a whole new level. Choose from 7 different flavors for a whole new way to nug. It's got to be Wendy's, open till midnight or later at participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location. All right, we got it out there. Call number 5, 215-263-0975. Hey, why don't you call Kevin Nagandi, who just got back to me. Kevin is in Williamsport for the Little League World Series. Not that you care.
No, I mean, that's all right.
So he's been a little busy because the games go on all night, and of course it's an early day. So Kevin's going to hop on momentarily to talk about all of our topics today. And of course, those topics are about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Philadelphia Phillies. The Eagles conversation is whether or not this is a make or break season for the team, and then individually, who is it a make or break season for when it comes to the Eagles? And with the Phillies, what do they deserve from us? Because a lot of fans have already written off the season.
That which is just so stupid.
Like, oh, even if they do make the playoffs, they're just going to lose. I think the Phillies deserve more out of people that say that. Because the Phillies have gone to the World Series 2 years ago and the NLCS last year.
I would ask every one of those people, under truth serum, what were you saying last year and the year before on August 22nd? Because I bet you in 2022, they were saying this team is dog, trash.
Right. Oh, another collapse coming.
In 2023, they were like, well, they're 10 games out in the division. So I don't trust any of those people's assessments because I guarantee you they wouldn't be honest about where they were the last year.
You shouldn't trust anyone's assessments. It's August. There's
know
a
who
lot
I
that's
do
going to
trust,
change.
though?
Well, this guy you can.
I trust Kevin Nagandi.
Do you trust them?
On the Comcast Business Hotline, every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next.
Not blind trust. I'm going to trust Kevin.
I trust him with my life.
Blind?
Yes.
Wow.
Kevin Nagandi, I trust you with my life.
Wow.
He doesn't know Phoenixville as well as I do, Kevin. I'm not trusting you with my life.
God.
I got that Delco. I have that Delco doubt in me. Of everybody.
God, I'm loyal to a T, man. I will do anything that is possible to take care of friends.
There you go.
Well, I appreciate that, Kevin. You and I, we fight till the end together. All right, so we got a couple of topics on the table today that we want to run by you. And our first is about the Philadelphia Eagles. We are 15 days away, by the way, from kickoff. I can't wait.
Crazy.
We asked a question about whether or not this is a make or break season for the Eagles, and then we started also focusing on some individuals. So let's start with that first part. Is this a make or break season for the Eagles, knowing everything that happened last year and the collapse, and a division winner would be a step forward technically, but with everything that's together, you might expect more. So is this a make or break year for the Eagles?
No, I don't think it's a make or break year for the entire team because you look at the young core. They have a core and the way Howie has designed the salary cap that this team, if this was an older team, I would say, yeah, make or break. But like they have done a great job drafting and putting players in the right spots that are much needed and then signing them to long-term deals, right? It could be a make or break individually if you're talking about Nick Sirianni. Yes, I think it's a make or break for Nick Sirianni. I don't think for the Eagles as a whole it's a make or break season coming in, considering the core and the long-term deals that they've signed over the last couple of years.
Now, we looked at then, of course, we spun it into a Phillies topic. And said flat out, is this a make or break year for the Phillies? Because this is not a young team.
You're 100% right. I think it is a make or break season for the Phillies because of the commitment they've made and the buildup that they've had and the success that they've had the last 2 years and the expectations after such a great start. Yeah, I think so. I think you can make the case it could be a make or break with Rob Thompson just because how are you managing these guys? Listen, ownership has basically made it known that we are in to win now and we have the window to win now, right? So I think that they're still going to have Bryce as the guy that they're going to revolve everything around Bryce, right? He's the son. He's the son. But some of these contracts are going to be expiring, but it's really Trey and Bryce, Wheeler and Nola, and then how you building the team around those guys. Those guys are here for good, and then you tweak around the sons, right? The core of the team. It's going to be make or break considering what they do in the playoffs, who they face, how they match up. You can't have a first-round flame out. You can't have disappointment that's going to carry through. And how about performance, right? Like, they fell apart after that 5-home-run barrage in 2022 against the Astros, and they got no hit the next game, right? Then they fall apart at home with the 2 games against the Diamondbacks, Games 6 and 7, where everybody felt like, all right, come on, we're going to beat the Diamondbacks. I think it's all about how they go out in the postseason.
So you brought up Rob Thompson and how he manages things. We just kind of talked about this before we brought you on, and he's in a tough spot. So after last night's win, Weston Wilson, the only guy with multi-hits in the game, they had 5 hits as a team. He has 2 of them. He just had the cycle the other night. Rob Thompson basically said to the media yesterday that he'll be in the starting lineup tonight because the bat has just been too good. So pencil Weston Wilson in at left field. Now here's the tough spot. The Braves are throwing a righty, which typically means Brandon Marsh is starting in center field. But if you're keeping Wilson in the lineup because of his good bat, Johan Rojas is hitting over 300 in August. Brandon Marsh is hitting 190. What do you do?
It's a good question. The loyalty that you often see from Rob sometimes to a fault, he's one of those guys. Let me tell you, you guys started this segment like, hey, I would trust him with my life. I would trust Rob Thompson with my life because, man, he is loyal to a fault.
Yeah.
I mean, when he sticks with something, he really sticks with something until, like, it fails repeatedly. And he's done that with Brandon Marsh. So I would expect to see Marsh in the lineup. So sometimes it is amazing. You can't apply, especially with younger players, you can't apply the broad brush that, if he's hitting, and he's going to say, he's the hot guy, I'm going to stick with him. One thing we've seen with Rob is Rob will sometimes just say, I'm going to go with my gut over what the numbers say no matter what. So I would think the loyalty of Rob Thompson separates himself on his decision-making while you guys can debate on what guy is hot, whose batting average is this, and all that stuff, what the numbers say. He'll go back to.
But then what's that message to Johan Rojas, right?
What's the message?
I get the message to Marsh. Hey, you're my guy. I still believe in you. This is the plan. When we acquired Austin Hayes, you were going to start against righties. Johan Rojas would start against lefties. But in the flip side, you're telling Johan Rojas, hey, man, I know you're playing good baseball right now, but it is what it is. You're on the bench.
I don't know what it's telling Johan. To me, with the messaging is, I go with my guys and my gut, and that's all I'm doing. No matter what, no matter the situation, I'm going with what my decision was made. I mean, I think that was the frustration earlier this week with, hey, you got the chance to have Bryce up there in the bottom of the ninth with the man on as the tying run at the plate, and now he's got the day off, right? I'm committed to doing something like that. Alvarado, 2 nights ago, you're just sitting there saying, what are we doing? Like, he has no location, walks in a run. There's a certain thing that no matter what he and you and I are seeing, he's going with his gut. He's going with his situation. He went with Alvarado no matter what. No matter what. He didn't go with the young guy. The young guy came in 4 pitches, got out of it, right? He didn't go with him. He didn't make the decision that way. I think that he'll go with his gut more than any of the numbers.
Think of the Philadelphia you grew up in, and think of the Philadelphia of today, Kevin Negandhi.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper's 10 for 67 in July.
Yeah.
He's 18 for 67 in August. That's 28 for his last 134, 209 over a big stretch. How is the reaction to Bryce Harper as a star not performing different than the Philly you grew up in?
Isn't that funny how that plays out, right? And I would think this city would be, through the years, much harder on Bryce Harper, considering where Bryce came from, and he was like an enemy, and, people despised him with the Nationals, right? But Bryce has done so much over the last 3 years, 4 years in building up
the goodwill,
reputation, and the goodwill, and the daily deposits, the postseason deposits, and the moments. And I think they give him a pass, and I'm actually, John, I'm actually okay with that. I really am. Maybe I'm getting softer in my old age, but I'm okay with that right now because we've seen what he has done in October the last 2 years in big moments.
When will you get concerned? I mean, we've got 5.5 more weeks of baseball left. This is the worst. This is arguably the worst 8-week stretch of his career. When would you get concerned?
The third week of September.
Okay.
If he hasn't figured out by the third, because guess what? That third week of September, you're ramping up, right? You're a week away from the postseason. If we haven't figured it out, what is going on? That's
when it would set you off.
Yeah, third week of September to me is like, okay, I've seen enough. There's enough on this thing. We've given you enough of a break and a pass. Now, what is going on? What has changed? Are you dealing with an injury that no one knows about? Has the wear and tear gotten to you? That's when I would get really concerned.
Speaking of Kevin Nagandi on the Comcast Business Hotline, back to our make or break conversation. We also focus on some individuals. Now, Nick Sirianni's an easy answer. If they don't play well, he's fired. I mean, that's an easy one. What about Jalen Hurts? So make or break doesn't necessarily have to mean you're on the team or off the team. We also believe that public backing is a big one. And going back to what John just said, old school versus new school, Donovan McNabb could throw 4 touchdown passes in a game and still get booed because he threw one worm burner, right?
Yes.
Jalen Hurts can throw 4 picks but do 1 tush push, and it's that guy's a gamer. Things have changed, but he played worse last year than he did in 2022. Is this year a make or break season for the public backing of Jalen Hurts?
Ah, man, that is a interesting question, and I think it doesn't just go with performance. I think it also goes with Jalen's communication and relationship with the fan base, right? Like we let some things slide, like we do with Bryce Harper, because I think Bryce has a connection with the fan base. For Jalen, Jalen's got to open up a little bit. Like if there are days where he's struggling, I think there is a forgiveness that is in this fan base too, and awareness. But I will tell you this, guys, as somebody that looks at the landscape of the NFL every single day and talks quarterbacks a lot, my thing to anybody who gets on Jalen Hurts is, what are your options, guys? There are, I would say, 20 teams that would love to be in our position. You don't want to be in quarterback purgatory. Have you seen the options that are out there? Have you seen some of the here's another thing too, guys. Jalen Hurts can win and still be ugly doing it, and I would take Jalen Hurts winning and being ugly and not the pretty ball that everybody wants, compared to Dak Prescott putting incredible numbers up and then failing miserably in the playoffs. Because if you talk to Cowboys fans, it blows me away. The guy finishes top 2 in touchdowns and passing yards, and you talk to many Cowboys fans, they're like, he ain't got it. We're moving on. And then you come back to, where are you going to go? What are your options? And this guy's going to make over $60 million next season, and there are a handful of teams that will line up and give Dak Prescott that contract. So when you look at Jalen Hurts and you criticize him to a certain extent, if it's due, it's due. Yeah, if it's justified, I understand that. But you can't just say, "Hey, let's get another guy in." Who are you going to get? That's the question. Marcus Mariota, Gardner Minshew. I mean, that there are basically 12 to 15 decent to great quarterbacks in the NFL. And everybody else is trying to get a top 5 pick. Do you want to be the Giants and Daniel Jones? I let me tell you, look at the options. Look at where the Commanders were for years. Look at how the Raiders are in purgatory. So you got to find, to a certain point, you've got to find some reality here on what the quarterback market is, and be, I think, aware that if you're going to call this guy out and say it's make or break, who are you going to bring in? Look at the Steelers situation. We've got their number 1 first-round pick, Kenny Pickett, and he's trying to make the second string team. And meanwhile, they can't figure out is it Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, right? And then you look at the quarterback market that's coming in with the draft class. It's a roll the dice. So I would pause there and think about, hey, when you put it in perspective about the expectations of Jalen Hurts, understand, who are you putting in if you want him gone?
Kevin, it's a great point, man. We appreciate you coming on. What do you got going on? You're in Williamsport right now for the Little League World Series?
Yeah, it's been great. Sports Center on the road. We've been out here. We're dealing with an elimination game, a pair of them today for the chance to go to the U.S. National Championship on Saturday and the International Championship. It's been great, man. 5 days. It's baseball heaven. Brought the family out. We've had a blast. It's great talking to these kids who've become superstars. There's a young man from Florida who did the Shoto shuffle and then hit a home run a pitch later.
That's
A
awesome.
couple nights ago. We got that video, and then we showed Juan Soto yesterday, and we shared it with the kid. Like, when you can connect the dream of a little leaguer with a major leaguer, and then the major leaguer sees what it's like to be a kid again, that's what it's all about. So we're having a blast, and I'm here till tomorrow. Looking forward to our coverage here at 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. on SportsCenter.
Kevin, you're the man. We appreciate it as always, and we look forward to talking to you again next week. Another week closer till opening day.
Fellas, you're the best, man. Take care. And listen, John.
Yes, sir.
I'll do anything for you, man. That's loyalty.
I know that. I know that. I mean, the mean streets of Phoenixville. It's almost Delco. It's almost Delco.
Hey, no, it's the mean streets of North Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Temple
there it
Maine.
is. We're together
All right.
on that one, buddy.
Damn right.
Thanks, man.
You're the man, Kevin. We appreciate it.
We got 3
Take care,
Klein
fellas.
guys right here.
Damn right we do. There he
And
is.
Connor, who went to a school in Europe for a semester.
Yeah,
There's
just
Kevin
a small
Agandi.
little John out there in Oxford.
Yeah, it's
He
great.
had to get a D1 experience somehow.
Now,
We had to get him into a D1.
when you were in Oxford, did you learn about leadership?
Yeah,
This
kind
is-
of.
this
Okay.
is
I had some books on that.
Well,
this is great.
this one might be even more of a master class for you. Your collegiate experience in Oxford is not as good as what Nick Sirianni will tell you about what he learned this offseason reading a book on leadership.
One thing that I read when I was reading a leadership book this offseason was if you want everyone around you to have accountability and you want yourself to have accountability, then you fussing at the refs, it's almost like, hey, this happened, so I'm going to blame that. When I read that, I was like, yeah, that hit me like, some sort of way. When I think about me with a referee potentially on the sideline and I complain about a call, is that really sending the right message to the rest of the team as far as our accountability goes? Again, when something goes wrong, the answer should be how do we fix this and what are the solutions, as opposed to looking for a scapegoat, I guess to say, is how I read it in the book. That hit me a certain way because with our core values being what they are, our connect, our accountability, our toughness, our detail, our core values being that, and accountability being such a big one, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be perfect. I already know that, but that's definitely on my mind. I'm going to still be super energetic when we score, when we have good plays, because that's one of the things that you love about football is, hey, when you make a play, I can't wait to see what you guys do to celebrate with each other within the rules of the game. Be yourself, have fun, do it within the rules of the game. And so that's going to still be there. But I think the one thing that I really thought a lot of when I read that book of the accountability piece. And so we're always in a work in progress. I'll be a work in progress until I'm done coaching, until I die.
Till he dies, Connor.
Till he dies.
That's 6 accountabilities in a 90-second clip and 2 core values.
And 7 times that I was reading. When I was reading. That answer, I swear somebody got a hold of a 6th grade book report and was reading it. That's what it, just like it was, oh my gosh.
Here's the other funny thing.
It did read like a book report.
Maybe instead of reading a leadership book, read a book on public speaking.
How about just a brevity? My gosh. I love this. One thing that I read while I was reading.
Yeah.
He did it twice. Well, one thing I read while I was reading.
And the thing.
My gosh.
Oh, what should I shouldn't complain about a call because that's not accountability. Well, if a referee misses a face mask,
that's making them accountable.
It's not Saquon Barkley's fault that his face mask got grabbed.
And that's making the referee accountable. It's so that's the right time. It's when you're mugging for the cameras when your team's up by 14. That's the problem, Nick.
That was a 90-second clip of nonsense and finding a way to force the word accountability and core values
And I was reading.
Unreal. All right, coming up next, we get more of your text messages on today's show, and I can't wait to play something for you. I guess it's macho mentality or it's just lunacy. That's coming your way later on the 9 o'clock hour. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
I'm going to find out about it. But you're free to do what you want.
Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this Wendy's Thursday morning. We got one more $50 gift card to give away at some point before we get out of here. I do want to get to some texts and some calls coming up, but let's talk about this a little bit more. The Phillies outfield situation for tonight's game, because I see both of your points of view. That's why it's a hard decision for Rob Thompson. Like, you're saying, oh, no, it's an easy decision. Connor's saying, no, it's an easy decision. But you guys are disagreeing with what the
easy decision is.
So it's not an easy decision.
I've seen one guy consistently fail for 2 months.
So if you're just tuning in, we read you the quote probably about 45. It was right before we had Kevin on, around 8:50.
Right.
So last night, I missed this. With our hours, we watched the game and we pretty much go to bed right away. So Phillies get the win, night. I go to sleep. And then during the show today, I see a quote from Topper. And Rob Thompson said that Weston Wilson will probably be in the starting lineup tonight because he's swinging a good bat and he's just having too many good at-bats right now. I love that. That's how baseball should be played. What Matt Klentak and Gabe Kapler did back in the day was horrible because Scott Kingery, not that this happened often, could go 3 for 3 one day and then the next game not be in the lineup. And then the next game probably grip the bat a little too tight because he's like, what do I have to do to get back in the lineup the next day?
Or does he start pressing if he goes 0 for 2?
Right, exactly.
Thinking, oh, man, I'm going to bench for a week.
For a week, exactly. And baseball is a sport, because it's played every single day, that you can get on hot streaks. You can also easily go on cold streaks. It's not like you have, let's say, a bad game in the NFL. You have a week to try to get your head right for the next week.
Yeah.
You have a bad game in baseball, and it's like your swing is just marginally off. You could be off for a week. We're seeing it right now with Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper doesn't stink. Bryce Harper's in a horrible slump right now.
It's a horrible slump, but Bryce Harper, again, as Kevin DeGandhi points out, has so much in the bank with us that everybody should be like, yeah, pencil in Harper any day he wants to play.
At some point,
I want to see him play more, not less.
Right, exactly. So right now, Weston Wilson will be in the lineup tonight. At least that's what Rob Thompson said yesterday. I guess
I'm thinking of playing him.
He should not go up against his word. So if Weston Wilson is in the starting lineup tonight, most likely it's left field. I know he's played.
No, it would be left
field.
field.
Play in the infield a little bit, whatever. He's a left field, okay? So that means center field is up for grabs between Brandon Marsh and Johan Rojas. The Braves are throwing Spencer Schwellenbach.
Yes.
Right-handed pitcher.
By the way, he's been pitching well.
So,
too.
Right-handed pitcher automatically makes me say, oh, well, then Marsh will be your center fielder tonight. And then I remember Rob Thompson saying Weston Wilson will be in the lineup tonight because he's been having good at-bats.
Right.
Brandon Marsh has not had a good at-bat recently, and Johan Rojas has. He's hitting .316 in the month of August.
Steve sends a tweet to me and says, how can you think about benching Marsh? He had the big hit last night.
The big sac fly.
I said he didn't have a hit. Johan Rojas had a hit. By the way, an extra base hit.
Well,
I mean,
the thing.
It's not a hit. He didn't have a hit.
But he had the big.
He had a sacrifice fly, and I applauded him for it.
Yes, it was a big moment. It gave them the 3-2
That was not
lead.
the big hit last night.
But it wasn't a strikeout, which is something that
That
he's
is progress.
Doing a lot. Okay, so
look at what we celebrate.
In the month of August, dude, Brandon Marsh.
It's horrendous.
Has 22 strikeouts already. Johan Rojas has only 9. Now,
and he keeps getting opportunities, more and more opportunities.
Because that's what their plan is. Their plan is to split the two. And, oh, by the way, don't forget, the beginning part of August, Weston Wilson was not. Right. Mickey Mantle and Austin Hayes was hurt. So there's a reason why they were both playing together at the same time.
And Hayes is back for the weekend in Kansas City, reportedly.
What do you do? What do you do moving forward?
Well, Wilson is going to go. I guarantee. Wilson's going to go.
What, to AAA?
Yeah, because Hayes has to come back. Hayes comes back in Kansas City. They're not getting rid of Rojas or Marsh.
No, they're not.
And I think that's part of the reason that Rob in terms of like playing Weston Wilson because he's hot. Because he's like, well, I got to get as much of it.
The most out of him, yeah.
And then he can have him back up September 1st, right? They don't expand the rosters by that much.
No, I think it's 2.
Yeah.
But I mean, Weston Wilson would. Cody Clemens, though.
Well, that's why you want to play
on.
Weston Wilson while he's up, because you want to get as much data as you can on him at the major league level, so you make that decision as informed as possible.
Okay, and right now, in the month of August, you're informed that Brandon Marsh should not play over Johan Rojas.
And the month of July.
Okay, but it's not like a should not ever play. That's where the difference lies.
No, but
right?
I'm saying for tonight.
Yeah, but he's
tonight,
having too much
Weston Wilson will be
opportunity.
in the starting lineup tonight. So that means center field, it's between two guys. It's Johan Rojas and Brandon Marsh. I know what you're saying, Connor. Hey, this is what their plan is, so stick with the plan. You also have to work with the mentality of your players over a long season. We just talked about Scott Kingery going 3 for 3, being on the bench the next day. Johan Rojas is playing good baseball. You going to put him on the bench for a guy that's hitting under 200?
And what did the owner just say? And he was delivering the message publicly to his boss. His boss was telling him, we got to stop doing things the way we can constantly been doing
it. It's not
it.
do things the way John wants. Like, they're doing something
John
different.
Middleton.
They're doing something, not that John. I'm talking about this John. They're doing something different. He said Weston Wilson is going to play today, and that's different than what he'd normally do with playing hot players.
And that is true.
It's not change everything. Like we talked about them sitting Trey Turner that one day, which wasn't sitting, but was sitting, whatever you want to call it. Like, that is a change. It's not going to be big sweeping changes where his whole philosophy is different, but they are starting to do a couple things different here and there to try and give sparks, and one of those is playing Weston Wilson. Here's the Brandon Marsh thing. Like, if you set the expectations with the players that they're going to platoon, and one guy gets hot, I understand, like, the natural thing, your gut instinct, like the immediate reaction would be, well, I'm going to play the hot hand. Look at how he swing.
Yeah.
But you know what is probably better for the team long term? That you get both of these guys enough opportunities that when it comes to the postseason, it's not Brandon Marsh has hit 10 times in the last 20 days.
There were 2 games last year in the postseason where, and it goes to both players, where single-handedly a defensive play by Johan Rojas probably won you a game.
Okay.
And during the NLDS, I believe that it was the NLDS or NLCS where Marsh, for a 3-game stretch, was honestly your best hitter.
Oh, he was your only offense in the NLCS.
He was your best hitter.
Him and
that you were
Schwarber,
feeling.
slightly Schwarber.
And so it's that whole thing about what do they got to do. I just believe there have been an inordinate amount of opportunities given to Brandon Marsh and not enough given to Johan Rojas.
Right, but that's kind of, sorry, man, life ain't fair. Marsh came
Yeah, but what's the philosophy behind saying?
Marsh came into the season with a significantly better resume at the major league level.
He did, but that resume, you should know enough right now to go, I know what his baseball card said. It's not working.
By the way, you can't resume.
He doesn't have he doesn't have a baseball card.
Well, you don't throw out what you think you know about a player over 2 months. You may give him less opportunities, but you don't. What can't happen is you just come to a place where Brandon Marsh doesn't play, and that's a slippery slope.
I don't want that.
Well, what happens when Rojas goes out tonight against, and it's not a bad thing for the Phillies in this moment, but you have to think big picture. If he goes out and gets like 3 hits tonight against Spencer Schwellenbach and you start him over Marsh, he's starting tomorrow and the next day and the next day until he cools off. But eventually you're going to look and you're going to say, wow, Austin Hayes came back. We want him in left field. And now you don't have Brandon Marsh hitting. And then what happens when a time comes around in the postseason where you say, I need a left-handed bat off the bench. And this dude has taken 10 swings in the past 20 days.
Think Rob,
did you
Rob Thompson will never let that happen.
I did hear what I just said.
Johan Rojas could go out there and go 3 for 3, and then that means he's going to keep on playing, and that's a bad thing.
I did not say that's a bad thing. I'm telling you that there are going to be moments in the who took the last at bat? You're laughing. Who took the last at bat of the Phillies season last year in the NLDS?
Old man.
It was Jay Cave. Because you had nobody else. You need a left-handed bat. You do. And this team has no better one than Brandon Marsh coming off the bench. And what you can't do is bury him behind a guy because he's hot.
I'm not burying him on August 22nd.
I want him and Rojas having even opportunity the rest of the way.
Okay.
Give them a both because they have not had that, and he has been outperformed by Rojas significantly.
Even opportunity is righty-lefty split.
I don't believe that. I don't believe it's the amount of it.
Do you want?
I want the amount of at bats.
Well, they can't perfectly do that.
No, they can't do it perfectly.
In the neighborhood. Okay,
then righty and lefty. Marsh gets righties.
But here's the thing.
Rojas gets
This is a conversation for tonight. Like, if Johan Rojas gets the start tonight, I'm not burying Brandon Marsh.
No, nobody is.
Johan Rojas could go out there tonight and go 0 for 5.
Correct.
I understand.
And then, you know, All right, we tried it.
The only way to be sure you do it is if you keep the philosophy, whether it is the hot hand or not. You have to stick to the philosophy, or it's like a cheat day, okay? If you have a cheat day every Thursday from like a diet and you stick with that, you got a better chance. But if you say, well, hey, one cookie on Friday isn't bad, the next thing you know, you're eating like crap the whole week.
What do you look at,
forgot
Andrew,
about
when you say that about Thursdays?
It's
a Wendy's Thursday.
Wendy's is the exception, boys. You can eat Wendy's.
I think that was a subtle, like, below-the-belt shot.
No, it's not.
Look, I'm saying, I'm trying to win a series.
Hard to see below the belt.
I'm trying to win a series against the Atlanta Braves. And I might want to put my best players, or at least my hottest players, out there right now. And right now, Johan Rojas is a hotter player than Brandon Marsh.
You're right, but sticking with the philosophy.
And he has been for a while.
Yes, and I'm looking long-term.
But the
philosophy's better for
the philosophy hasn't worked over the last 2 months.
It's not working.
But it's worked over the past 2 years.
Not really, because Johan
Sticking
Rojas
with the guns
is just kind of
when we didn't believe in it, boys. This is what he does. Kevin DeGod, he told you. I'm telling you, Jeffrey Core said it. Somebody listen.
All right,
man.
Coming up next,
I hope we get a parade one of these.
We have the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3, and then after the Key 3, is it chesty or is it downright asinine?
You're good for both.
You'll hear it next. It's Kincade and Salciunas 97.5 The Fanatic.
Ricky Vitalico.
The thing that bothers me, how the hell does an offense with all these stars get this lost? What is going on?
We got the key 3 coming up. But how about caller number 3 to the contest line? 215-263-0975.
Is that for Bryce?
Wins our 4th and final Wendy's gift card. Sure. And
Subliminally?
And he does something tonight because of that punk-ass,
I would love to
weak-ass
see it.
Orlando Arcia waiting until after he passed Harper to stare at him. Loser. $50 gift card up for grabs right now. Call number 3 to the contest line. Wendy's new saucy nugs are taking nugs to a whole new level. Choose from 7 different flavors for a whole new way to nug. It's got to be Wendy's. Open till midnight or later. At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary by location. Is it chesty or is it lunacy? You'll hear that in about 3 minutes. But it's time now for the Kincade Salciunas Key 3.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
First off, let's just throw this out there because I'm sure there are some people, John, and I can't believe it would be a high percentage, but I'm sure there are some people that are saying that this isn't a make or break year for the Eagles or for individuals. And if that's the case, I think you're crazy, but
For the team or for individuals?
I would say for the team, too. This team is too talented. This team has so much going on for them.
Let me ask you. I would tell you right now, if Nick Sirianni failed, this would be the number one job that would hit the market that anybody would want, and that includes the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
So I don't think it's make or break for the roster. I think it's make or break for individuals, for coaches and individual players. This isn't make or break for the stars of this team. I mean, for A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley.
I get it.
Jalen Hurts is not make or break. If he had another year, there's going to be serious questions.
Yeah, there's going to be questions.
But it's not going to be move on time. I mean, I think it's make or break for the head coach and for individuals that we need to, kick some backside this year.
Look, the exhale, yes, exhale because of a win. Am I exhaling with Carlos Estevez giving me palpitations again? No. Am I exhaling because the Phillies had 5 hits yesterday, 2 of which came from Weston Wilson, 1 from Edmundo Sosa,
and the biggest
1 from Johan Rojas?
Yeah, Johan, baby.
That was nice. Not a nice night for Johan, but
another nice one.
All the other guys had 1 total hit. That was Kyle Schwarber. At least it was a ribby. Trey Turner knocks in a run, and Brandon Marsh with the sack fly. So it was big. Look,
a Marsh, an underrated moment.
Yes, because the sack fly
underrated moment.
Could have been a strikeout.
If it had been a strikeout, which it normally is, that's really good. Really good moment for him. Hopefully it triggers
Phils get the win. Phils get the win, and that was nice coming
30.
off of the loss. What, the magic number down to 30? All right, like that.
Nice round number today. We can get down into the 20s with a win tonight.
Andrew DeCecco joins us. Andrew, what's going on, man? Good morning.
Linebacker, to me, is another position I'm going to be keying in on over the next couple of days because you've seen a lot of mixing and matching throughout the summer. Evan White's been pretty much the constant there with the first team. And Kobe Dean, to me, is the player that I believe will ultimately be the Week 1 starter opposite Devin White. But still, there's a lot that needs to be determined here in the coming days. So I think that's one that I'll be keeping an eye on.
Orlando Arcia, who we all remember as Mr. Attaboy Harper. Orlando Arcia is hitting .226 this season. He hit a home run yesterday. As he rounded first base, he waited, by the way, to pass Bryce Harper.
Oh, he did, yeah.
To stare at Bryce Harper. So let me start off by saying that alone is weak ass. Bryce Harper did it as he rounded second.
Looking
Orlando
right in the eye.
Arcia waited until he passed Bryce Harper to stare him down. Number 1, weak ass moment out of Orlando Arcia. Number 2, you are a bit player on this Braves team that is now 7 games behind the Phillies in the National League East. Do this during a playoff series like Bryce Harper did it. You're doing it when you're down 7 games in a playoff race. And oh, by the way, you're only a game and a half of the Mets. You could miss the playoffs. And you're taking a shot at Bryce Harper by staring him down when he did it in a playoff series and you're doing it on August 21st.
And you had no answer for Bryce Harper last year when he did it to you twice. You didn't step towards him. You didn't ask him, what's your deal, dude?
Nope, not at all.
You just sat there, you cowered like a little baby, and now he pulls it again.
You don't think it's make or break for Jalen Hurts?
No.
I don't think make or break in terms of he's gone like Carson Wentz
that's
after this season.
that's what I look at as make or break.
But, the conversations of top 10 quarterback, top whatever quarterback, if he has another season like last year,
he'd have to have a terrible year to not be their quarterback next year.
Right, to not be the quarterback. But we'll start talking.
See, I don't consider.
Would you be surprised if, let's say, he has a year like last year, maybe even a little bit worse, or slightly better, but not anything where you're going, oh yeah, this is the guy that we paid for that incredible year 2 years ago? You don't think the Eagles would start looking at like a draft pick?
Do I think
he's
going to
sit for a little bit?
No, what I'm just saying is I don't think he's going to be gone. I look at make or break as you're here or you're not.
Okay.
You're being voted off the island, and someone's putting your torch out, and I don't consider that. But for this fan base's backing of Jalen Hurts, I could easily see many people putting his torch out.
All right, that's the Kincade Salciunas Key 3, the 3 best minutes from today's show. Now, before we get out of here and hand things over to Mike Missanelli, I want to play something for you, and we got to figure out, is this chesty or is this lunacy?
So you're playing something from either Connor or Brendan?
No.
The last couple of days.
So,
Hey, man. Easy.
Daryl Doucette. I'm sure a lot of you are going, who the hell is that exactly?
Is he a rapper?
No.
I'm not
He
big on
is
the rap
the
game right
United States flag football quarterback that has won a world championship in flag football.
now. Oh, wow.
Now, remember, flag football.
Does he play the Frisbee kind, too?
Flag football is coming to the Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
And current NFL players have already said, I would like to participate in it. And a gold medal champion rightfully wanted to take a stand, take a listen.
At the end of the day, I feel like I'm better than Patrick Mahomes because of my IQ of the game. I know he's right now the best in the league. I know he's more accurate. I know he has all these intangibles. But when it comes to flag football, I feel like I know more than him.
Oh, my gosh. Who dropped this kid on his head?
So it's like the 3-on-3
Who's serious? I
basketball.
understand.
There might be 3 guys that know the 3-on-3 game better than, let's use the 3 best players from Team USA, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry. I'm still taking those 3 guys over the guys that know how to play 3-on-3 in a heartbeat.
Are you serious? First, oh my gosh.
So you
First
guys,
of all,
you're leaning lunacy?
Yeah, lunacy. The guy who's winning the flag football championship, Patrick Mahomes competes against actual football players. You compete against guys who I have no idea what they do for a living. I mean, seriously, just stop.
I guess the
That
answer
is
is
such
lunacy.
nonsense. That's such nonsense.
All
Oh
right.
my God!
Tell us
I can't
about
believe
the
he-
tell
I
us
can't
about the
believe-
ACR there,
I can't
Johnny.
believe he said that. Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join FT Young Heating and Air Conditioning and make a donation today to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR. I am living proof that cancer research saves lives. So do I help my buddy Steve win the member today at over at Chester Valley? You're guessing not.
You'll be there. You'll be a part of the team.
You're going to have fun.
All right, everybody. Mike
Thanks
Missanelli
for the
show
support, boys.
coming your way next. We'll be back at it tomorrow.